Good afternoon, all. Good afternoon. Jai Hind. So, I welcome each one of you here in this session today. And in today's session, I'll discuss the most important topic of the entire Indian polity, that is the topic of parliament. So, this topic of parliament, if I have to tell you the reality of this topic of parliament, in last 10 years, from this topic. So, all questions that are anywhere related to parliament, working of the parliamentary committees, in total, from this topic in last 10 years, 62 questions have been asked in UPSC exam. So, remember the importance of this topic. Okay. So, good afternoon, Jai Hind, Laishram. Good afternoon, all. Good afternoon, Jai Hind. So, in today's session, I'll discuss this topic entirely. Now, in this topic, I'll cover each and everything around the parliament and about also the parliamentary committees, the parliamentary forums, and different workings of the parliament. Okay. So, if this is usually a saying amongst all, that if you have to revise one topic a day before any examination, any exam conducted by UPSC, then just revise this topic of parliament, because this single topic comes up with anywhere around 5 to 6 questions in every examination. Moreover, if you have to understand the working of the parliamentary system, then also this topic is fundamental and most important to understand every working. So, if you have understood this topic of parliament, then you will be able to correlate and understand things better with respect to the state legislature also. And moreover, the entire working of the Indian parliamentary system can be easily understood only through this single topic of parliament. Okay, so without wasting any moment further, we will quickly start off with this topic. And in this session, we will be discussing each and everything around this topic. Okay, so now when we start off with this, with parliament. Okay, now many a times, most of you also have this confusion as to, sir, how to remember the important articles. Okay, so remembering important articles also at times becomes very difficult and very important. Okay, but while remembering the articles, there is one basic thing that all of you must keep in mind. Instead of remembering the articles, okay, in a chronological manner, it is always that first you must remember the different parts of the articles, what contains what. Okay, so first is it has to be a macro level learning, okay, a superficial learning, and then you move ahead into the specific articles and into the specific provisions of these articles. Clear? So while discussing this topic, I'll also keep highlighting the important articles that are relevant to this topic. Clear? So when we start off with this topic of parliament, now this essentially is in the part 5 of the constitution. Okay, so this topic of parliament is in part 5, chapter 2, and article 79 to 122. Okay, so if you could remember, until article 78, so article 52 to article 78, they talk about the union executive. Okay, this topic of parliament, it talks about the union legislature. Okay, now union legislature comes from article 79 to article 122. But again, there is a very prominent doubt amongst various students at times. Okay, and they ask, they, sir, parliament is from 79 to 122, and when we talk about the next chapter that talks about the judiciary, that starts from 124 to 147. Okay, so why what essentially is 123? Always remember 123 is the ordinance making power of the President of India. Now the ordinance making power is the legislative power of the President of India. Clear? So in this session, technically I'll cover from Article 79 to 123 itself. Okay. Now when we talk about this topic of Parliament, what is the composition of Parliament? Okay. Or before understanding it, we must also understand that what is this parliamentary system. Okay. So in the Indian Constitution, if we talk about the governance, okay, this governance is based upon a fundamental principle of serving the people. And what does this parliamentary form of government means? This parliamentary form of government means that in India there is the provision of the rule of the majority. Okay, so whosoever gets the majority in the parliament gets to govern the country. Okay, and here also the majority of which house matters, that will also be discussed. Okay, so this parliament, it occupies the central position. Okay, and it is the central legislative organ. Okay, it is the central legislative organ. Clear? It occupies the central position in the democratic structure of the country, in the political structure of the country. And this parliamentary system has been popularly called the Westminster model of government. Okay, so this chapter 5 of the Constitution, it deals with the complete organization, composition, duration, and also around the procedures that are undertaken in the parliament. Clear? So this parliament, it essentially consists of three parts. Okay, first is the President of India. Now second is the Rajya Sabha, and third is the Lok Sabha. Now again a question might come into your mind that, sir, why is the President of India part of it? The President of India is part of the executive also, and why is the President of India part of the legislature also? So always remember that the President of India is not an active member of the parliament. Okay, the President of India is not the one who will participate in the deliberation of the houses. Okay, but no bill, no proposal that is passed through the houses of parliament shall become a law until it gets the president's assent. Okay, unless and until the President of India passes it. Okay, now just remember one thing, that President of India is here, is part of the parliament as an authorized signatory. Okay, the one who has the power to give assent to the bills of the parliament. Yeah. Now this Rajya Sabha is essentially the upper house of parliament. Okay, also called the permanent house. Clear? This house does not dissolve. Clear? It remains in existence throughout. Okay. Now, this Rajya Sabha does not have the representation of people. This Rajya Sabha has the representation of the states. Clear? So, we will be discussing as to how Rajya Sabha is organized. Clear? So, just keep watching it. I'll cover each and everything in the most uh, simple manner so that it is understood by you all. Okay. Now, this is called the Council of States. And in this, it is the representation of states that is carried out. Clear? So Rajya Sabha is the upper house. Okay. And similarly, this Lok Sabha is the lower house. Okay. And it is also called a temporary house because it is reconstituted after every 5 years. Clear? Now, this Lok Sabha has got the representation of people. So, it is known as the House of People. Clear? So, it is the people who shall directly vote and they shall elect their representatives to the Lok Sabha directly. Clear? So, we have understood these basic terms which are around this. Okay. Now, all the discussions, all the deliberations over a proposal shall take place only in these two houses. Okay. And once these proposals are through these houses, then it will go to the President of India. Clear? So, a bill that is once passed by both the houses of parliament shall become a law only when it receives the president's assent. Okay. So we have seen that the constitution makers, while they were formulating the Indian constitution, they had followed the Westminster model. Clear? So Westminster model is the British model of the parliamentary system. Okay. In Britain also a similar model exists. Okay. Where the parliament comprises of the crown, that is the king or the queen. As in the upper house, they have the House of Lords, and in the low, as with respect to their lower house, they have the House of Commons. Clear? Instead, if we talk about the American system, there they follow the presidential form of government. Okay. Now I am drawing parallels with the British as well as American system because recently in the examination, presidential form of government and parliamentary form of government have been two very prominent questions that have been asked recently also. Clear? So herein we can understand that in the parliamentary form of government, okay, parliament undertakes majority of responsibilities. Clear? So parliament has to work in a multi perspective model. Clear? So in this Indian parliamentary system, the term government that we emphasize upon is primarily the interdependence of the legislative and the executive organs. Clear? So herein we have the legislature and the executives that have been working together. Okay. Now, when we move further, if we talk about some major functions of the parliament, okay. So first, in general, I'll tell you about the major functions of the parliament. Okay. Now, when we talk about these major functions, you will see that parliament has got multiple responsibilities. First and the most basic is the legislative function. Okay. Now, this parliament essentially is the central lawmaking house, lawmaking organ of the union government, of the central government. Okay. Now, along with the lawmaking, they also have the responsibility to control the executives. Okay. Control over the executives is also undertaken through this house. Okay. We have seen that the removal of the president is also carried out through the parliament. Moreover, in order to form a government in India, the party in majority or the leader of the member of parliaments shall have to undertake a floor test. Okay. And unless and until they prove their majority, they cannot rule. Clear? So we have seen that parliament has got variety of functions. Okay. Along with it, they have got the function to control over the exchequer, means these are somewhere around the financial functions of the parliament. Okay, and parliament functions in the most prominent manner wherein they have the control over the funds of this country. Clear? So parliament has got multiple responsibilities. They have got these multi-perspective control over these. Okay, now when we move ahead, when we move further, when we talk about the functions of each houses, okay, then first is the composition of the house. Okay, now first we will talk about the composition of Rajya Sabha. Now, as I have told you, this Rajya Sabha is the upper house. Okay, it is the house which has the representation of the states. Clear? Now, in this Rajya Sabha does does not have direct elections. Okay, in this Rajya Sabha, it is the indirect elections that take place. Okay, now what do we understand by indirect elections? Means the people of India would not vote directly. Since herein we have the representation of the states, so the state member of legislative assemblies, okay, of the states and union territories, they are the ones who will vote and then they will choose their representatives. Clear? So this Rajya Sabha, the total sanctioned strength of this Rajya Sabha is 250 members. Okay, out of which 238 are elected members. Okay, so 238 are representatives of the states and union territories, and 12 are nominated by the President of India. Now, these nominations are done from 4 categories. Okay, art, literature, science, and social service. Clear? So these are the 4 categories from where the nominations shall be done. Okay. Now these nominations are done by the President of India on the advice of the Prime Minister. Clear? Uh, Tejeshwar ji, okay, if you have doubt around the topic, you may ask now. Okay, but if you have a doubt outside the topic, then I'll be happy to take it in the end of the session. Okay, but if you have doubt around the topic or anything else related to this topic, you may ask now. Okay, chali. Now this is the sanctioned strength. Sanctioned means this is the total strength. Okay. Now, if we talk about the present strength, present is 245 member. Okay. Out of these, the 233 are elected representatives of the state and the union territories, and 12 are nominated members. Clear? So, in the Constitution of India, it is the fourth schedule. It is the fourth schedule of the Constitution that deals with the allocation of seats to the Rajya Sabha as well as the union territories. Okay. Now the allocation of seats. Now the allocation of the seats is done by proportional representation. Okay. Now this allocation is by proportional. Okay. So every state in proportion to its population has the representation in Rajya Sabha. Clear? So we have the largest state, Uttar Pradesh. So Uttar Pradesh has the largest representation in Rajya Sabha, that is 31 members. Clear? Now, Tejeshwar has a doubt, sir, why would we call PM an appointment? Okay. Now, always remember, Tejeshwar, why do we call the PMs as an appointed executive? Because in our country, you do not vote for the office of PM, unlike the USA. Okay. Herein, you vote for the member of parliaments, and then those member of parliament would decide for their leader. Okay. And whosoever leader is nominated by those member of parliaments, they give it in writing to the president of India, and then president shall appoint that individual, that leader, as the prime minister. Clear? So ideally, if somebody asks a question about how to define prime minister, then the best definition to the prime minister, to the office of prime minister, is the leader of majority of member of parliaments in Lok Sabha is the prime minister. Clear? I hope, Tejeshwar, you have understood this. Clear? Because the leader is then communicated to the president, and then president makes the appointment. Understood? Chaliye. Now, in the Rajya Sabha, okay, the representatives of the MLAs of the legislative assemblies of all concerned states, okay, they shall participate in voting, and they shall choose their representatives to be sent to the Rajya Sabha by proportional representation by single transferable voting system. Clear? So, in India currently, if we talk about the representation, then in Rajya Sabha we have representation of 28 states, plus the question comes up is the MLAs. So MLAs, the member of legislative assemblies, only exist in 3 union territories: Union Territory of Delhi, Puducherry, and Jammu and Kashmir. Clear? So these are the 3 union territories with a legislature. Okay, so only these 3 union territories have their representatives in the Rajya Sabha. Clear? Okay, so 28 states and 3 union territories currently have their representatives in Rajya Sabha. Okay, so this is how this is carried out. Then 12 members are nominated by the President of India on the advice of Prime Minister. Okay, now on the contrary, if we talk about the Lok Sabha, okay, now the Lok Sabha, the maximum strength is 552. Okay, now this was previously the number that was fixed. Clear? Which previously they called it, okay, there were 552 members, 550 were elected, and 2 were nominated from the Anglo-Indian communities. Okay, so this was the number that was previously kept for it. Okay, but by the 104th Constitutional Amendment Act, okay, the nominations of these 2 representatives from in the Lok Sabha, it was done away with. Clear? It was removed. Okay, essentially it was found that Anglo-Indians are being duly representatives, and thus this was removed. Clear? So currently the sanctioned strength is comes down to 550. Okay, present strength is 545. Okay, current strength is 543. Okay, so previously it was 552 as the sanctioned strength and 545 as the present strength. Clear? But then it was reduced, okay, and it became 550 and 543. Clear? I hope this is clear. So we have seen that essentially, okay, the representatives are only elected. Yeah. Now, also remember one thing. Now, there have been various questions which have been asked previously in the examination around these statements. Okay. So, in the Rajya Sabha, okay, when the elections are done, there is no reservation of seats. Okay. But in the case of Lok Sabha, okay, in the case of Lok Sabha, when the elections are done, okay, these elections are primarily carried out on the basis of direct elections. Clear? Now, herein, these are directly elected by the basis of universal adult franchise. Universal adult franchise. Okay. Now, universal adult franchise means that anyone over the age of 18 years can vote in the elections. Clear? Understood? So, this is the basic composition. Now, at times, the question might also come into your mind that, sir, why do we have vacancies? Okay. Now, herein we have got 7 vacancies. Okay. Now, when we talk about this, we have got 5 vacancies here. So, what is the reason that these vacancies they do exist in the cases of Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha? Okay. So, these vacancies are primarily due to the vacancies of the areas over which the government of India presently does not hold control. Okay, the regions over which the government of India can presently the government of India presently cannot conduct elections. Okay, so those areas are the illegally occupied areas of the Pakistan occupied Kashmir as well as the China occupied Kashmir. Clear? Now, when in the case of Rajya Sabha, the elections are done. Okay, it is indirect elections, but who and how the people can be elected? Okay, as I've told you that here in the elections are carried out indirectly by elected MLAs of the states and the union territories. Okay, but who is eligible to become the member of Rajya Sabha? So, if we talk about the eligibility, now in case of Rajya Sabha, the minimum age is 30 years. Clear? An individual who wants to be a member of Rajya Sabha should have attained the minimum age of 30 years. Clear? Secondly, should be a citizen of India. Okay. And the individual should be a registered voter from any parliamentary constituency. Okay. So it is registered voter from any parliamentary constituency. Clear? So now the question comes up is, sir, what is a constituency? So in our country, the entire area of the country has been divided into 543 parliamentary constituencies. Clear? So if somebody is a registered voter in any of these can participate in the elections. Clear? Simultaneously, if we talk about the Lok Sabha, okay, if we talk about the Lok Sabha, then herein the elections are conducted directly. Okay, now since the elections are conducted directly, okay, the minimum age is 25 years. Clear? Any individual of the age of 25 years can participate in the election as a candidate. Clear? Moreover, Again, an individual shall have to be a citizen of India and a member and a registered voter from any parliamentary constituencies. Clear? But in this Lok Sabha, there is reservation of seats for SCs as well as STs in proportion to their population. Clear? So in the total number of constituencies are also uh, divided, okay, in proportion to the population. Supposedly, if suppose SCs in total in the country have 5% population, just giving you an example, then out of total seats, 5% of the seats shall be reserved for them. Clear? So this is essentially in this manner. Okay. Next, the elections to the parliament, to the Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha, are conducted by the Election Commission of India. Clear? So it is the Election Commission of India that shall conduct the elections. Okay. Now, again, the next thing that comes up is tenure of the houses. Now, first, if we have to talk about the Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha. Now, this Rajya Sabha for the first time was constituted in 1952. Okay. It was constituted in 1952. And why, many of you might have this doubt that, sir, why Rajya Sabha was constituted in 1952? Because when India became independent in 1947, there were no elections for the government that had taken place. Okay. And it was the interim government that was formed. That interim government had continued as the first government. So you might know that constituent assembly that was made for framing the constitution of India had the dual responsibility of making the constitution as well as legislating upon the provisions of the Government of India Act 1935 until the constitution gets adopted. Okay. Now, constitution got implemented in 1950, and thereafter the first elections were conducted in January 1952, after which the Rajya Sabha was also formed. Okay. Now, this Rajya Sabha is the permanent house. Clear? Permanent house means the Rajya Sabha would never dissolve. Okay. Or in a layman term, we can say that as a whole, there would be no instance when all the members of Rajya Sabha, okay, would complete their tenure. Clear? Now, every member of parliament, Rajya Sabha, is elected or nominated for a duration of 6 years at a time. Okay. And 1/3 of the member, they retire after every 2 years. Clear? 1/3 of the members, they retire after every 2 years. Clear? So this is the reason that 1/3 get retired, 1/3 new get elected. Okay. Moreover, any member of parliament who has retired is eligible for re-election any number of times. Clear? So there is no upper limit for an individual. There is no upper number for an individual to become the member. Okay. Now, when we talk about the Lok Sabha, this Lok Sabha is a temporary house. Okay. And the members are elected for 5 years at a time. Okay. So the members are elected for 5 years at a time. After 5 years, the Lok Sabha gets dissolved. Okay. And fresh elections are conducted, after which the Lok Sabha gets reconstituted. Clear? So the duration is 5 years. Uh, okay, but it can also be dissolved even before the completion of its tenure if the Prime Minister makes the recommendation to the President of India. Okay, and after every dissolution, the reconstitution shall happen only after the conduct of fresh elections. Clear? Okay. Now, when we talk about, so this is basically the tenure. Okay. Now, next, if we talk about the presiding officers of the house. Okay. If we talk about the presiding officers of the house, the presiding officer of Rajya Sabha is called the chairman. Okay. And vice president of India is the ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. Clear? Now, the question comes up is that what do you mean by the term ex officio? Okay. Can anyone tell me what do you mean by this term ex officio? Can you tell me what do you mean by this term ex officio? You might have heard of these things many a times. Just remember, this term ex officio means by default. Okay. So whosoever, okay, will be the vice president of India will be by default called the chairman of Rajya Sabha. Clear? So any individual who remains in the office of vice president shall automatically remain in the office of chairman Rajya Sabha. Clear? And as soon as an individual is removed or superannuates from the office of the vice president of India shall also automatically superannuate from the office of chairman Rajya Sabha. Clear? Okay. Now Rishi has a doubt कि सर जो पॉलिटी में हम पढ़ते हैं क्या इन रियलिटी सब रूल्स फॉलो भी होते हैं? ऋषभ, ये जो पॉलिटी हम पढ़ रहे हैं इसमें कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है आपको फॉलो करना या अवॉइड करना. दिस इज कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया. Okay, and everything has to be followed. Okay, Constitution of India is not optional, it is mandatory to be followed. Clear? Chali. Now, so chairman is the ex officio, the vice president is the ex officio chairman. Okay, now what all powers does this chairman has? Okay, so the bigger question is that what are the powers that are being held by the chairman? Clear? So the if we talk about the constitution, okay, and if we see that what essentially are the responsibilities of the vice president, so we can understand one thing that constitutionally the powers of vice president are nowhere defined except being the chairman of Rajya Sabha. Okay, so the actual role of the vice president in this country is to act as the chairman of Rajya Sabha or to act as the president of India in his absence. Clear? Now, firstly, the chairman shall preside over the sessions. Okay, he shall preside over the sessions of Rajya Sabha, the house. Okay, so whatever has been going on in the house, is it following the right decorum, right process or not? That is being done. Second thing is that he enjoys a casting vote. Can any one of you tell me what is a casting vote? What is a casting vote? Now, by casting vote, it means that during the proceedings, okay, during the deliberations over any topic in the house, the vice president or the chairman shall not vote in the first instance. Okay, so by casting vote means that the chairman shall vote only in case of a tie. Clear? So whenever the discussions are taking place over a topic and there are equal votes in favor as well as in the against, then only the chairman can cast his or her vote to cast the decision of the house, okay, or to ensure that the tie is broken off. Clear? Now, along with this, he shall also conduct the elections of deputy chairman. Clear? So the chairman shall also conduct the elections of the deputy chairman. Okay. Now, currently, all of you might have seen the proceedings of the parliament is going on. The monsoon session of the parliament is currently going on, and you might have seen that there are various topics over which the parliament has been has been pushed into chaotic situations. Clear? Now, have you ever noticed that whenever you see the proceedings of Rajya Sabha, sometimes it is written in the chair, honorable chairman. Okay, if you would have seen the proceedings, you will see that at times it is written in the chair, honorable chairman. Okay, sometimes you see it is written when the footer is coming, it is written in the chair, honorable deputy chairman. Okay, at times it is written in the chair, honorable vice chairperson. Okay, so what is the difference between these three offices? Chairman, deputy chairman, and vice chairperson. Now, if the chairman is temporarily not available, then it is the deputy chairman who shall preside over the sessions. Okay, and if deputy chairman is also not available, then the chairman would decide the panel of vice chairpersons. Clear? Now, in this panel of vice chairpersons, maximum, okay, there would be 6 members. Clear? There would be 6 members in this. So, when chairman is not available, then deputy chairman. If deputy chairman is not available, then any member out of these 6 shall preside over the session. Okay. But there might also be a situation wherein neither the chairman nor the deputy chairman or any of these 6 is present. So in that situation, the President of India shall allow any other member to preside over the sessions. Clear? Next, if need be, if there is a very important topic is being discussed, okay, and it requires spatial emphasis, okay, spatial deliberations, the chairman can also refer matter to the committees of the house. Okay, he can also refer matter to the committees of the house. Okay, then the next thing is that the highest administrative body of Rajya Sabha is the Rajya Sabha Secretariat. Okay, and Secretariat is usually headed by a very senior IAS officer. Okay, but the direction and control over the Rajya Sabha Secretariat lies with the chairman. Clear? So that lies with the chairman. Clear? So these are some responsibilities that are held by the presiding officer of the Rajya Sabha. Okay. Next comes the presiding officer of Lok Sabha. Now the presiding officer of Lok Sabha is called the speaker. Okay. The presiding officer of Lok Sabha is called the speaker. But this election of the speaker in itself is a very slightly complex process. Okay, I'll tell you how speaker is elected. Okay. Now, when we talk about the chairman of Rajya Sabha, okay, then there is no confusion as to how chairman is elected, because in Rajya Sabha, whosoever is the vice president shall be by default the chairman. But in case of Lok Sabha, this does not happen, because Lok Sabha is constituted. Okay, it is reconstituted after every 5 years. Okay, so if you have to understand that whenever you guys were in the school, okay, you passed one class, and then when you went to the next class, okay, the higher class, okay, on the first day of you going to the new class or the first day of your session, okay, there might be no class monitor. So temporarily the class teacher would have asked any of you to preside, to monitor the class until a permanent class monitor is appointed. Similar things happen in the case of Lok Sabha also. So when the Lok Sabha is reconstituted after fresh elections, okay, there is no speaker, and the speaker cannot be elected without conducting any election from within the members. So in this situation, what happens is, okay, on the first day of newly constituted Lok Sabha, the president appoints a speaker pro tem. Okay, the president appoints a speaker pro tem. Okay, pro tem means pro term. Okay, temporary. Now he is appointed by the president of India. Okay, so president of India appoints him, and the president of India also administers the oath. Clear? So he is the one who shall administer the oath to the speaker pro tem as well. Okay. Now this speaker pro tem has got dual responsibilities. First responsibility is to administer oath to all newly elected MPs. So the speaker pro tem, one by one, shall call upon every newly elected member and shall administer them the oath of their office of member of parliament Lok Sabha. Clear? So he shall administer to all. Okay, all means all 543 MPs. Clear? Now his second responsibility is to conduct election of permanent speaker. Clear? To election of the permanent speaker. Now this permanent speaker shall be elected from within the members. Okay, so it is every member who shall vote. Okay, and it is again in the form of a single transferable voting system that the election of the speaker shall take place. Clear? Okay, always remember that the date of election of speaker is decided by the President of India. Clear? So it is the President of India who shall decide that when the election shall take place. Clear? And until then, the oath shall be administered. Now, administering oath to every member is very important, because if a member participates in the proceedings of the House without undertaking the oath, then a member is liable to be fined rupees 500 per day for participating without being administered the oath. Clear? So you can understand that this oath is also very important, and it is the pro tem speaker. Okay, it is the speaker pro tem who does this. ठीक? चलिए. Now, when we talk about the functions of the speaker of Lok Sabha, okay, now the speaker of Lok Sabha shall also preside over the sessions of Lok Sabha. Okay. He also enjoys a casting vote. Casting vote means that he shall also vote only in the case of tie. But he has got some extra responsibilities. Okay. Those responsibilities which are not available to the chairman of Rajya Sabha means he shall preside over the joint sitting of parliament. Okay, he shall preside over the joint sitting of parliament. Okay, along with this, he shall decide whether a bill is money bill or not. Okay, he shall decide whether a bill is money bill or not, and his decision is final in this regard. Clear? Next is he is chairman of Indian Parliamentary Group. Okay, so he is the chairman of Indian Parliamentary Group. So wherever it is the representation of Indian Parliament, okay, anywhere in the world, then he is the one who shall represent the Indian Parliament. Clear? So he is the chairman of this Indian Parliamentary Group, and this Indian Parliamentary Group is a link between Indian Parliament and parliaments of the world. Okay. Next, he shall appoint the chairman as well as the members of all committees of the Lok Sabha. Clear? So he shall do so for all committees of the Lok Sabha. Okay. Next, if we see along with this, okay, appointing the chairman of the committees. Okay. Along with the same, he also has similar responsibilities. Okay. He shall conduct the elections for the office of deputy speaker. Clear? So he is the one who shall conduct the elections of the deputy speaker. Okay. Next, along with the deputy speaker, Okay, along with the deputy speaker, you will see that first it is the speaker who shall preside over the session. If speaker is not available, then it is the deputy speaker who shall preside over the sessions. If deputy speaker is also not available, okay, if deputy speaker is also not available, then any member from the panel of chairpersons, clear? So he shall also nominate members to the panel of chairpersons. Okay. Now, in case of Rajya Sabha, there were maximum 6 in the panel of vice chairpersons. Okay. But in case of Lok Sabha, this panel has got maximum 10. Clear? This has got maximum 10 members in the panel of chairpersons. ठीक? Clear? Next, he shall also has the direction and control over Lok Sabha Secretariat. Clear? He is the one who ensures control over the Lok Sabha Secretariat. Clear? Okay. So these are majorly the functions of the presiding officers of both the houses. Okay, so whether it is the Lok Sabha, whether it is the Rajya Sabha, they are the ones who have got similar functions. Clear? So all of you who have been part of this session, please tell me. Until now, I have told you about the basic definitions of parliament. I have discussed the functions, holistic functions. Okay, then composition of the house. Okay, then tenure of the houses and the presiding officers. Clear? So anyone who has got any doubt in these, please do let me know. Okay, and also the election of the speaker. So if you have got any doubt in these, please do let me know. Anyone who has got any doubt. Okay, Jai Hind, Radha ji, Jai Hind. बताइए, if any one of you have got any doubt in these abhi until now we have just talked about these major principles, these major things. Okay, I hope this is very clear. Okay, these are just the basics that we have done. Okay, now simple, I have, if I have to tell you about the system of elections. System of elections in the country, then all of you must know that how elections are conducted. So we have seen that for conducting the elections, okay, the entire region is divided into territorial constituencies. Okay, now the question might come before you around these territorial constituencies also. Okay, the question might come around these territorial constituencies also as to how these territorial constituencies work. Okay, and what essentially are the principle upon upon which these territorial constituencies work. Clear? Just remember one thing, that every state is allotted a number of seats in Lok Sabha in such a manner that ratio between the seats and the population is same for all states. Clear? Remember that okay, suppose for one state, the for X population we have one representative. Okay, then for all the states this ratio would remain the same. Clear? This ratio would remain the same. Okay, and in this ratio you will understand, okay, that this provision does not apply to a state having population less than 6 millions. Okay, Radha Mishra has a doubt, sir, what is the schedule? Radha ji, daily, okay, in today's session I'll conduct parliament. once and for all. Okay, but daily at 3 p.m. okay, I do conduct a session, okay, wherein I have been covering the Indian polity, complete Indian polity through NCRTs. Clear? So you can also join me daily at 3 p.m. on the same channel for complete NCRT of Indian polity. Okay, sure. Now moving back to this topic. So, in the case of territorial constituencies, each state is allotted a number of seats in Lok Sabha in such a manner that the population is to representative, the ratio remains the same. Okay. And each state is divided into territorial constituencies in such a manner that ratio between the population of each constituency and number of seats allotted. Okay, suppose in case of Lok Sabha, we have seen that UP has got 80 seats. Okay, now in Uttar Pradesh, if all those 80 seats or of all those 80 representatives, they would be representing the same value. Clear? So we have to understand one thing, that the population in the state, okay, and the population is to representative ratio throughout the country shall remain the same. Okay. Now in this, the readjustment is carried out after every census. Clear? So after every census, the readjustment is made, and this readjustment is made in two aspects. Clear? First aspect is allocation of seat to the states. Okay, and the second aspect is division of each into territorial constituencies. Clear? So in this, it is okay. Now, next thing, if we have to understand, okay, the parliament has enacted various delimitation commissions. Okay, now usually the delimitation commission comes after every census. Okay, we have seen that census come after every 10 years. Okay, we had census in 1951, then 61, 71, 81, 91, 2001. Okay, so delimitation commissions have also been made in the same aspect. Okay, delimitation commission first came in 52, 62, 72. Okay, after 2001 census, it was in 2002. Okay, but the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976 had frozen the allocation of seats in Lok Sabha to the states and division of each state into union territories. Okay, each state into territorial constituencies till 2000 at 1971 level. Okay, so just remember, 42nd Amendment Act, okay, had frozen, okay, for 2000 at the 1971 census. Clear? So the 42nd Amendment Act of 1976 had froze this allocation of seats, okay, into territorial constituencies till year 2000. Okay, till this year 2000 at 1971 level. Clear? Now this ban on adjustment, okay, so this ban on readjustment was extended for another 25 years by the 84th amendment. So 42nd twice of 42 is 84th Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, so this 84th Amendment Act, it has shifted the next readjustment to next 25 years. So up to 2026 has been fixed, okay, by the 84th Amendment Act of 2001. Clear? So, and this is the reason why it was done, so as to allow the states to adopt to the population control measures. Okay, so it was carried out with the objective so that the states, governments in the states would be encouraged to come up with the population control measures. Okay. Now, this 84th Constitutional Amendment Act had also empowered the government to undertake readjustment of territorial constituencies on the basis of 1991 census. Clear? Okay. So, this for next 25 years until 2026, okay, on 1991 census. Clear? This was carried out. Clear? Then came the 87th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2003. Okay. Now, this 87th Amendment Act it changed this 91 census to 2001 census. Clear? So, this was how this was done. Clear? However, this can be done without altering the number of seats allotted to each state in the Lok Sabha. Okay. And as I've told you, in this system of election, there is also a reservation of seats for SCs and STs in the proportion to their population. Okay. So, this is how the election system it works in the country. Okay. So, I hope all of you would have understood that how these functions they work. Okay. And what all are the essentials that are kept in mind. Okay. Next thing. Next, the question comes around the sessions. Okay, that how essentially the parliament works, what all are the sessions, how the sessions are conducted, and what all are the different measures that are undertaken while the sessions are being conducted. Clear? Now, when we have to understand this topic, okay, about these, okay, then we must understand some basic principles of how these sessions are being conducted. Clear? Now, when we talk about these sessions, in the parliament, there are a few things that all of you must understand. Okay, there are a few very basic definitions that all of you must remember, because the questions at times can be framed around those basic terms. Okay, and if you are not very clear with the definition of these terms, then you will not be able to understand them, you will not be able to answer them. Okay, now when we have to understand this first question comes is the sessions of the parliament. Sessions of the parliament. Okay, now this question has been asked many a times in the exam, that the constitution allows how many sessions of the parliament to be organized. Okay. So just remember that our constitution does not lay down the specific number of sessions to be conducted. Our constitution very clearly says that there cannot be a gap of over 6 months between two consecutive sessions. Okay, there cannot be a gap of more than 2 months, more than 6 months between two consecutive sessions of the parliament. Okay, currently there are 3 sessions which are conducted. First session is the budget session, which starts from 1st of February. Okay, and it continues till the end of March. So the longest session is the budget session. After budget session, second session of the parliament is the monsoon session that is currently going on. This monsoon session starts in July, okay, July, August, and it continues. Then third session is the winter session. Now, winter session is the shortest session. So, presently there are 3 sessions which are conducted, but constitution does not define how many has to be conducted. Constitution says that there cannot be a gap of more than 6 months between 2 successive sessions. Okay. Now other thing, that if need be, okay, the prime minister can inform the president of India, and any other session can also be organized. Clear? So it basically depends upon the will of the government, that how sessions do they, how many sessions do they want to be conducted. Okay. Now when we talk about the sessions, there are also some various terms that have to be understood. Okay. The other term that comes up is the quorum. Okay. Now quorum is the minimum attendance required to conduct the sessions of the house. So suppose I say that I will not start teaching unless and until I get 5 students in the class. Okay. Suppose I say that I'll not take up the session, I'll not start teaching until I have 5 students in the class. So the quorum of my class is 5. Similarly, the constitution says that quorum for any session of the parliament is 10% of the total strength. Clear? So this is the minimum strength that is required to start with the proceedings of the house, and it is 10% of total strength. Clear? Now, after quorum, the next thing that comes up is the summoning. Okay. Summoning. Summon means to summon, means to call someone. Okay. Now, okay, to call upon the members for the session. Now, what happens in this is that the Prime Minister of India shall inform the President of India that this session shall be conducted from this date to this date. Okay. Then it is the President of India who shall officially notify to all the members, okay, that the session shall be conducted like this. Okay. So this summoning is done by the President of India. Okay. It is the President of India who shall summon all the members. Okay. See? Now the next thing that comes up is during the session is adjournment. Okay. Now this term adjournment, you might have heard various times that the members were chaotic, the members were creating chaos, they were shouting in the session, and thus the chairman or the speaker had adjourned the session for 2 hours. He has adjourned the session till 2 p.m. He has adjourned the session for 5 hours, or he has adjourned the session until next day. Clear? So this adjournment means temporary suspension of the sitting for any specified duration. Okay. So this is now this adjournment means temporary suspension of the sitting for any specified duration. It means that whenever the member reassemble, the house picks up the proceedings from the same point from where they had left it. Okay. The other thing that comes up is adjournment sine die. Okay. Now this term sine die, it means indefinite. Okay. In Hindi, you call it anishchit kaleen. Okay. Indefinite duration. So when the agenda of the session is finished, then the presiding officer shall terminate the sitting for an indefinite duration. Clear? So it is that is adjournment sine die. Okay. So just remember the adjournment and adjournment sine die, they are carried out by the presiding officer. Means the speaker in case of Lok Sabha and chairman in case of Rajya Sabha. Now this summoning is done by the president. Okay. Now once this adjournment sine die is done, okay, it is basically done after the agenda of the session has already been completed. The agenda has been achieved. Okay. Now agenda means suppose the budget session was organized to deliberate upon the budget, okay, to deliberate upon the annual financial statement. So once the annual financial statement is passed, it means that the objectives have been achieved. Okay, so that marks the end of agenda. So what happens is that presiding officer shall adjourn the house sine die. Now once the house is adjourned sine die, okay, the session shall end only when the president will prorogue it. Clear? So by summoning, it means to call upon the session. The next is prorogation. Okay, to end the session. Clear? To end the session. And both of these acts are done by the President of India. Clear? So you must remember what is done by whom. Okay. Now these things have been asked in match the following also in the exam previously. Clear? Now along with this, there is also one more thing. Okay, that we call the dissolution. Now this dissolution is also done by the President of India. Okay, this dissolution is also done by the President of India. Now dissolution is only in the case of Lok Sabha. Clear? So this dissolution means termination of life of Lok Sabha. Okay, so it is done after 5 years. Now question might come up is that there have been questions that I've been asked previously around the termination also. Okay, just around a year or the last year, the question was asked wherein the statement said that the duration of Lok Sabha is from first day from is 5 years from the day of its reconstitution. Okay, so this statement is incorrect because the duration of Lok Sabha is 5 years from the first sitting that has been conducted. Clear? So once the life of Lok Sabha, if 5 years of Lok Sabha are completed, okay, then the President of India shall dissolve the Lok Sabha and shall recommend the fresh elections, okay, for reconstitution. Similarly, if the Prime Minister also recommends to the President to dissolve the Lok Sabha, then also the Lok Sabha is dissolved. Okay. So just remember that these are a few basic terms, terminology that all of you must remember. Okay, when you are understanding these basic concepts about these. Clear? Okay. Next. Other thing that you must know about the houses. is the leaders of the parliament. Okay, so acha, now let me make one thing very clear to you, that in the parliamentary process, not everything has been mentioned in the constitution. Okay, few things have also been mentioned in the conduct of business rules and procedures of the houses. Clear? So first, here it comes as the leader of the house. Clear? The first term that comes is the leader of the house. Now, this term leader of the house is basically similar to the term the majority leader. Okay, and this term leader of the house is usually used for the prime minister. So prime minister by default will be the leader of the house of which he is a member of. Clear? So if the prime minister is a member of Lok Sabha, then by default prime minister will be the leader of house in Lok Sabha. Okay, so if we take an example, Narendra Modi ji, he has been a member of parliament Lok Sabha from Varanasi constituency. So he is a leader of, he is by default the leader of the house in Lok Sabha. But the previous Prime Minister, Manmohan Singh ji, has been a member of parliament of Rajya Sabha from Darjeeling. So he was called the leader of house in Rajya Sabha. Clear? So the leader of house is essentially the term that is used for the prime minister, and prime minister by default is called the leader of the house. Okay, in the house where he belongs to. Okay, now in this case, in this situation, you can also see that leader of house is an important functionary. Okay, because the leader of the house is the one who shall represent the party. Okay, who shall directly influence the conduct of business. Clear? So in situations when prime minister is the leader of house in one house, okay, then he shall nominate any other minister, okay, any other member of his party to lead the party in the other house. Clear? Okay. Next important functionary that comes up is the leader of opposition. Now, this is again a very important office. Okay. Now, in each house of parliament, we have the leader of opposition. Okay, now leader of opposition is the leader of largest opposition party having not less than 10% of the total seats. Okay, so the leader of any opposition party with at least 10% of total seats. Clear? That is what is called. Okay. Now, in parliamentary system, leader of opposition has a very significant role to play. Okay. And leader of opposition basically means that he is the leader of the entire opposition, and he is the one who will provide constructive criticism to the policies of the government. Okay. And for entire country, for the people of the country, he is posed as an alternative to the government. He is posed as the one who is supposed to be the voice of the opposition. He is supposed to be the voice of the people to keep checks and balances on the government. Clear? So leader of opposition is a very important office. Okay. Now this office, leader of opposition, has received statutory status. Okay, so it is by law. Okay, so it was in 1977 that leader of opposition has also been given statutory status. Okay, and by statutory status it means that the leader of opposition gets same salaries and allowances which are available to any minister of the cabinet rank. Clear? Any minister of the cabinet rank shall get the same. Clear? Acha. Now what had happened is, in 2014 elections and 2019 elections, okay, no opposition party was able to get 10% of the seats in Lok Sabha. Okay, 10% of total seats in Lok Sabha. Clear? So, officially, the status of leader of opposition was not accorded onto any individual of the opposition party. Clear? But symbolically, since it was required, okay, because leader of opposition is a representative in many appointments in the country, so symbolically the status was given to the Congress. Okay, but officially it was not given to anyone. Okay, it has only been after the 2024 elections that officially the status of principal opposition party and leader of opposition has now been accorded to Rahul Gandhi ji. ठीक है? चलो. Next comes the term whip. Okay. Now this term whip, as you know, is something that supervises a group. Okay. Now we have seen that this whip, okay, is basically an office that has neither been mentioned in the constitution, okay, nor in the conduct of business rules, okay, nor in any parliamentary precedents. Okay, but a whip is that every political party, okay, so out of 543 members we will see that there are multiple political parties, okay, BJP, Congress, Samajwadi Party, ADMK, Aam Aadmi Party, many political parties have been there. Okay, so every political party, whether they are ruling or whether they are opposition, okay, they appoint one of their leader as the whip. Okay, and whip is basically the one who shall manage all the leaders, all the members of that concerned political party to act in the house in accordance to the ideology of the party. Clear? So this whip is given the responsibility of ensuring the attendance of their party members. Okay, it is given the responsibility to monitor and regulate the behavior of their party members in the parliament. Okay, and all the party members are supposed to follow the orders or the directives that have been given by the whip. Okay, and also remember, if the party members they do not follow the directives of the whip, then they are also liable to be disqualified from holding the membership. Clear? So you must remember that this whip is again a very important office. Clear? Okay, check. Now, if we move ahead, okay, we have seen various other things. Now, the next principle that we have to understand is language. Okay, language in the parliament, or what language is being followed. Okay, now the constitution says that Hindi and English are the languages of the parliament. Okay, but the speaker as well as the chairman can permit a member to address the house in their mother tongue also, in case they are not comfortable with either Hindi or English. Clear? So officially it is Hindi or English. Clear? Okay. Now, along with this, the there are few more people who are constitutionally authorized to participate in the proceedings of the house. Okay. So, all ministers and attorney general. Now, this attorney general office is given under Article 76 of the Constitution. Clear? So all the ministers as well as attorney general, they have the right to speak and take part in the proceedings of either house. Okay, so they can participate in the proceedings of either house. Along with it, they can participate in the joint sitting of the house or part of any committee. Okay, so you can see that they have the authorization from the parliament. But when the voting is done in the houses, okay, attorney general, even though he may have been participating, but he will not participate in voting because he is not a member. Whereas these ministers shall participate in voting only in those houses wherein they have been a member of. Okay, so if they are a member of any house, then only they can participate in the voting, else they would not participate in the voting. Clear? Okay. Next, devices in the parliament. Okay, now the next thing is devices in the parliament. Okay, devices in that how the parliament shall work. Okay, so all of you who have also been watching this session, let me also remind you with one thing, that daily at 3 p.m. okay, I'm also covering the Indian polity through NCRTs. Okay, and in my daily 3 p.m. session, I will take up all Indian polity NCRTs from class 6th up to class 12th. Okay, until now we have done the NCRTs of class 6th, 7th and 8th. Okay, and from Monday I'll start off with the NCRT of class 9th. Clear? So if you want to make a foundation, okay, make your foundation in Indian polity through NCRTs, then do join me in those sessions. They are very, very important. Okay, chaliye. Now moving ahead, next thing that comes up is the devices in the parliament. Okay, now the first important device is the question hour. Okay, is the question hour. Now what does question hour means? Clear? Now question hour is essentially the first hour of every sitting. Okay, so this is first hour of every sitting. Okay, now in this first hour of every sitting, okay, during the question hour, the members of the house, they shall ask questions. Okay, and it is usually the ministers who give them answers. Okay, now what type of questions can be asked and what type of answers can be given? Okay, now in these question hours, the question can be categorized into starred questions, okay, unstarred questions, okay, and short notice questions. Clear? Now, starred questions. Now, if you will just observe the parliamentary proceedings, you will at times feel that parliament is very nicely organized. Okay, one member shall ask the question, the other will sit down. Okay, and then so sometimes you will see that things are very nicely managed. Okay, so whenever the session starts, okay, the topic of discussion is pre-decided. Okay, in that situation, every member shall have to inform the speaker, okay, inform the chairman, inform the presiding officer of what type of question do they want to ask. Okay, so in this situation, when we talk about the starred questions, okay, these questions are usually marked with an asterisk. Okay, now these questions usually require an oral answer. Okay, and since they require an oral answer, supplementary questions can follow. Means supplementary additional questions while making reference to the main question can also be asked. Okay. Next comes unstarred questions. Okay. Now these questions, they are basically requiring factual information to be delivered. Clear? So they require written answers. Okay. And since it is factually delivered, okay, thus no supplementary questions can follow. Clear? No supplementary questions can follow. ठीक? So it is maybe they are asking about the information, a factual data, and that factual data is delivered through factual responses. Clear? Now next comes short notice question. Okay. Now these short notice questions are the one that are asked by giving a notice of less than 10 days. Okay. And these are all are also answered orally. Okay. So always remember that it is primarily upon the presiding officer of the house, okay, to allow or to disallow what shall be undertaken. Clear? Now, along with this, the questions are also asked in the form of private member questions. Okay. Now, these private member question, they are addressed to a private member. Now, private member means they out of all the member of parliaments, okay, there are few members who become the part of the government as a minister, and there are few which remain and are not part of the government as a minister. Okay, so those members who do not become part of the government as a minister are called the private members. Clear? So the question, the entire set of members can ask those private members also the questions regarding primarily around their constituencies, okay, or any bill, any proposal that has been given by them. Clear? So this is how the process works in the parliament. Okay. Next, there comes a very important provision also. Okay. And very favorite question for the examiners, that is the 0R. Okay. So the 0R is mainly a time gap. Clear? Now the 0R has been mentioned nowhere, and this is an informal device that is available. Clear? So this is an informal device that is available to the member of parliament, and in the 0R the members can raise any matter without giving any prior notice to the house. Clear? So 0R is basically the time gap between question hour and start of agenda for the day. Clear? Suppose it has been decided that X is the topic of discussion for the day. Clear? So this 0R, usually it is kept at 12 noon. Okay. And this 0R, it starts immediately after the question hour. Okay. And it lasts until the time the topic or the regular business of the house has been listed. Clear? So this is basically the time gap between question hour and agenda of the day. Okay. Now in the Indian parliamentary procedures, this is our own invention. Okay. It is practically, it has not been encouraged from any other thing. Okay. And it became part of the Indian parliamentary system from 1962 onwards. Okay. Now, another important thing that comes up in the parliament are the motions. Okay. Another important thing that comes up in the parliament is the motions. Okay. Now, motions are basically the form of permission. Okay. Now, a member of parliament cannot take up anything in the parliament without the permission of the presiding officer. Clear? So, we can see that no discussion on any matter can take place without the consent of the presiding officer. Clear? So, this motion is essentially a type of consent that has been taken from the presiding officer, and this consent is categorized into various forms depending upon the various issues, okay, that have been put up. Clear? So these motions, they are basically used to raise discussions on various topics. Clear? Okay. So before understanding motions, always remember, okay, that these motions are mainly a weapon of the opposition. Okay, so let me tell you this thing very clearly, that this motion is to ensure the accountability of the government, and usually it is the opposition that will demand accountability of the government. So motion must, whenever you are understanding it, always remember that these motions are basically used as a weapon by the opposition. Clear? Now these motions are raised by the members, okay, and they primarily fall into three categories. Okay, now first is the substantive motion. Okay, first is the substantive motion. Now this substantive motion is to be understood like a self-explanatory motion. Okay, now this substantive motion is a self-contained independent proposal that aims to deal with an important matter. Okay, so it is self-contained independent topic dealing with a very important topic. So very important topic can be like the removal of the president of India, okay, removal of the chief election commissioner, removal of any judge of Supreme Court or the High Court. Clear? So any topic that is independent of any reference or any context is called a substantive motion. Okay, next is called a substitute motion. Now, this substitute motion, as the name suggests, it is introduced to substitute what what is going on currently. Clear? So it is substitute. It basically it proposes an alternative to the original motion. Okay, original motion means the original topic of discussion that has been designated for that day. Clear? So substitute motion proposes an alternative to the original motion. Clear? So we can say that it supersedes the original motion. Okay. Okay. Now third motion that comes up is a subsidiary motion. Okay. Now, this subsidiary motion, it means that it is subsidiary to any topic. Okay. So, while understanding it, you must understand that every term has got some literal interpretation to be made. Clear? So subsidiary motion means that it has a subsidiary. It in itself has got no meaning. Clear? So this subsidiary motion is initiated while making a reference to the original motion. Okay. Now, if I have to give you an example, suppose the original motion, if currently we can see that currently the monsoon session is going on. In the monsoon session, there are multiple things which are being discussed. Okay. Now, suppose in today's session, the parliament is discussing the Vande Mataram bill. Okay. Vande Mataram bill is the original topic of discussion. A member proposes substantive motion and says that instead of discussing this Vande Mataram bill, let us talk about the removal of the chief election commissioner. Okay. Suppose there has been something about his behavior or actions, and the member thinks that removal of CEC is important. Clear? So, substantive motion is initiated that we must take up the independent topic of removal. Okay, that is supposedly the more important one. Okay. Now, this substitute motion says alternative to the original motion. Okay, so originally Vande Mataram bill is discussed, and now the member says that instead of discussing the Vande Mataram bill, let us discuss the steps which are being taken to ensure accountability for paper leaks. Suppose, okay. Third subsidiary motion. Vande Mataram bill is the original topic of discussion. Okay. Now, suppose a member initiates a subsidiary motion saying that in this Vande Mataram bill, okay, why all 6 stanzas are being taken up, okay, or they propose about the punitive action taken at par with the national anthem. Suppose they start discussing that. Clear? So in this, a reference was made to it. Okay. In this, they decided that as an alternative to the original Vande Mataram topic, something else has to be discussed. And in substantive motion, they said that before proceeding with the Vande Mataram bill, let us continue with this thing. Clear? So this is how the motion works. Okay. Now, these we can see that these are some basic categories, 3 principal categories under which the motions are come up. Clear? Next motion that is discussed is closer motion. Okay. Now, closer, as the name suggests, okay, let us close the discussion over this. Clear? So, this motion is proposed by a member to now let us put this to vote. Okay, so this motion is proposed by a member to cut short the debate, okay, on this, and let us now put it to vote. Clear? So, this basically says cut short debate and process voting. Now, every one of you will remember that, would know that in parliamentary system, okay, nothing shall happen without voting. Okay, so whether it is a motion, whether it is a bill, okay, they shall be processed, or the decision of the house shall be arrived upon only after the discussion and voting has been done. Clear? I'll in the later half of this session, I'll also tell you what all are the different types of voting which are done. Clear? Now, in this closer motion, okay, in this closure motion, there are also three different types of closures. Okay, first is simple closure. Okay, so simple closure, it says that according to a member who has proposed it, okay, he or she feels that the topic, that the motion has been sufficiently discussed. Okay, so he proposes to say that enough of discussion. Now let's put it to vote. Clear? Enough of discussion. Let us now put it to vote. Okay. Next is closure by compartment. Okay. Closure by compartment. It says, suppose a bill has been discussed. Okay. And bill is very lengthy. Okay. Like suppose your Indian polity. Okay. Has been divided into 395 articles. Clear? Because the constitution was very lengthy. Okay. And it has been divided into 25 parts. Okay. So the constitution has been divided into 25 compartments. Suppose a discussion is taking place over these compartments. So in closure by compartment, what happens is, okay, even though the debate has happened over the whole or whatever has taken place, okay, so in this situation, what happens is that the clauses of a bill, okay, are first grouped into different parts before the debate ends. Clear? So debate, and you can see that debate is done part wise. Okay, clear? And then entire part is put to vote. So first, the first part is discussed, that is voted upon. Second is discussed, the second is voted upon. So the bill is processed part by part, compartment by compartment. Okay. Next comes kangaroo closure. Okay. Okay. Now kangaroo closure, it means that only important parts are taken up. Okay, and voted upon, or and rest others are skipped. Clear? So herein what it happens is that they say only important provisions are discussed and voted upon. Okay. Next comes guillotine closure. Okay. Now in the guillotine closure, okay, it basically says that only important parts are discussed, but entire topic, entire bill is put to vote. Okay. Now this usually happens when the time that has been given for discussion over the bill, okay, the time has been over, but the entire discussion might not have taken place. Clear? So in this situation, we can see that guillotine closure, it officially says that important provisions are discussed, but entire bill is put to vote. Clear? So it is the entire bill that is put to vote. Clear? So these are, this closure motion has been asked recently by UPSC in majority of its exam. Okay, so whether it was civil services, whether it was CDS, whether it was CAPF exam, okay, this closure motion has been asked almost in all the examination within last 2 years. Okay, next comes privilege motion. Okay, privilege motion. Now, there are some parliamentary privileges which are given to the ministers. Okay. Now, this is basically dealing with the breach of parliamentary privilege by a minister. Okay. So a member can initiate it against a minister if a member feels that a minister has committed a breach of privilege. Okay. Or now how a breach of privilege can be done? Okay, suppose the minister has initiated so the minister has given some facts, okay, and those facts are wrong. Okay, so anything that has been done with an intention of misleading the house, that is the breach of privilege. Clear? Okay. Next comes the calling attention motion. Okay. Now this calling attention motion means that the parliament, okay, the member of parliament feels that there is some very important topic over which the attention of a minister has to be brought. Okay. They, according to them, they feel that the discussion in the house has been taking place, but there has been a very urgent topic of public importance that is being ignored. So this calling attention motion is brought in with respect to the concerned minister. Okay. If the topic correlates to his or her area, okay, his or her ministry. Clear? So this calling attention motion is initiated to attract the attention of a minister with respect to his or her area of expertise. Clear? Okay. So this is calling attention motion. Now, along with this calling attention motion, now these are some very important motion. Okay. Next motion that comes up is the adjournment motion. Now, three motions that I'll be discussing now. Okay, you will find any one of these three motions in every exam. Clear? Now, this adjournment motion, it is basically introduced in the parliament, okay, to draw the attention of the house to a matter of urgent public importance. Clear? Acha, always remember that these motions are introduced only in Lok Sabha. Okay, to draw attention over topic of urgent public importance. Clear? So now these motions, they are initiated with a different process altogether. Okay. Now, in order to initiate this, okay, now this motion must have support of at least 50 members. Okay, this must have support of at least 50 members. Okay, now once it is admitted, it interrupts the ongoing proceedings of the house. Clear? Okay, so since this is basically an extraordinary device, okay, now what does this adjournment motion is trying to say? In this adjournment motion, the member who has been initiating it is trying to convey that the government is discussing a lesser important topic. Okay. And there are various other important topics which are to be discussed besides this lesser important topic. Clear? So, this adjournment motion usually raises a definite topic of concern. Okay, it raises a definite topic of concern. Any topic which is definite, which is factual, which is urgent, and is of public importance. Clear? Now it should cover only one matter. Clear? It must have only one matter, and that one matter should not be any generic matter. Okay, means a matter, it should neither be a matter of parliamentary privilege, okay, nor it should have been a topic of a political concern, okay, or a topic that has been recently discussed in the house, okay, or anything that is under the adjudication of the court. Clear? So it is something that should have a very definite concern raised in this. Clear? So in this adjournment motion, okay, whenever such motion is initiated, okay, and admitted, the discussion must take place for 2.5 hours. Okay, the discussion must take place for 2.5 hours. Okay, 2 hours 30 minutes. Okay, now once the motion has been duly discussed, okay, once this has been duly discussed, then voting takes place. Okay, now in the voting, if this adjournment motion is passed by the house, okay, then it amounts to, if passed, it censures the government. Okay, now by censuring the government, it means that the member who had introduced it has been able to prove that a lesser important topic was being discussed and much more important topic are being ignored. Okay, so it is like reprimanding the government, okay, that the government must take up urgent topics instead of lesser important ones. Clear? So this adjournment motion, it censures the government, and since it involves an element of censure, Rajya Sabha is not allowed to make use of this. Only it is the Lok Sabha. Clear? Okay, now after this, the next that comes up is no confidence motion. Okay, now this no confidence motion, okay, it is essentially the most powerful device. Okay, it is essentially a very powerful device. Okay, now why do I call it a very powerful device? Okay, because the it is introduced to ascertain the confidence of the Lok Sabha into the government. Clear? Now, in our constitution, Article 75 of the constitution says that the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Okay, so Article 75 talks of collective responsibility. Okay, now in this case of collective responsibility, it means that the government shall remain in power only as long as they are enjoying the confidence of the majority of the Lok Sabha. Clear? So the government has come up in power only because they have the majority in Lok Sabha. Prime Minister has been in power because he has been chosen by the majority of leaders. Clear? So in this no confidence motion, we can see that this no confidence motion can also be initiated only in the Lok Sabha. ठीक है? With the support of 50 MPs only. Clear? So it can also be initiated only in Lok Sabha with the support of 50 MPs only. Okay, and this, okay, as we have seen in the adjournment motion, Okay, in the adjournment motion, we have seen that there have been various things. Okay, in the adjournment motion, we have seen that there was a specific topic that had to be initiated. Clear? Now, in this, we can see that it is only in Lok Sabha it can be initiated, but this no confidence motion need not specify the reason for its adoption. Okay. Clear? It requires no reason for its adoption, means anytime the opposition can say that the people have lost the confidence in the government. Clear? So we can say that this no confidence motion, okay, it can be initiated, okay, against the PM or against the entire Council of Ministers. Clear? Okay, so that is one and the same thing. If we say it is PM, PM is the leader of Council of Ministers. Okay, and if we say Council of Ministers, that collectively includes the entire council, entire government plus the Prime Minister. Clear? So this is introduced to ascertain the confidence of Lok Sabha into the government. Okay, now discussion shall take place. So it can be initiated with the support of 50 members, but once passed, okay, it can be initiated with the support of 50 members, but it can be other signatories also. And whosoever has been uh, a signatory to the no confidence motion is given the time to speak in the discussion. Clear? So they are given the time to speak in the discussion over the no confidence motion. Okay. Now, once the motion is discussed, okay, and it is voted upon, in case it is passed, then entire Council of Ministers, including the Prime Minister, okay, they have to resign. Okay, so in case it is passed, then PM and all ministers, they have to resign immediately. Clear? Moreover, you can also understand one thing, okay, that these motions, they practically have got no relevance if the government is clearly in power, in majority. Okay, now we can also understand one thing: when the ruling government is in clear majority, okay, and we have a majority government ruling, okay, then they are no relevance. Okay, it usually make relevance only when the government is in minority. Okay, like the current government. Okay, now the total strength is 543. BJP requires 272 seats on its own, but currently BJP does not have 272 seats on its own, and the government has been formed in alliance with various parties. Okay, so in such situations, it is usually when these motions make some relevance. Okay, otherwise they are of no relevance. Okay, and they are majorly used as a tool of criticizing the government. Clear? Okay, so these motion, we can understand that this no confidence motion, okay, they are essentially introduced. Okay, and these motions, we can see they are introduced to ascertain the confidence of the house. Okay, now in case it is passed, okay, the government has to resign. But in case it is not passed, in such a situation, it amounts to the ruling government coming up with a confidence motion. Okay, so in order to now say, in order to dominate, okay, the ruling government immediately comes up with a motion of confidence. Okay, and it is in this situation the government then proves that we have the confidence of the house and we have the confidence of the people. Clear? So herein they are trying to prove themselves by moving this motion of confidence, and it reflects that we have won the confidence of the house. Clear? Okay, but in case it is rejected, okay, the no confidence motion is passed, then it means the fall of the government. Clear? Chali. Next, moving ahead, the other important motion that we are discussing here is the motion of thanks. Okay, the motion of thanks. Now, in this motion of thanks, this is essentially a new procedure. Okay, up this motion of thanks, if we see, we know that the President of India, he addresses the Parliament on two occasions. Clear? First, on the first sitting after reconstitution of Lok Sabha. Okay, so after the general elections have taken place, it is then it happens. Okay, next, if you see, okay, now Vince has a question. Has any no confidence motion been passed by the Lok Sabha against a union government? Yes. Okay, can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me about any minister, any prime minister who had to resign after the no confidence motion was passed? Yes. Can anyone tell me? Okay. Now, have you heard of the Morarji Desai government? Hanji, wins. Morarji Desai government had fallen, okay, after the no confidence motion. Okay. And not just Morarji Desai government. Okay, you might have heard of when uh, Atal Bihari Vajpayee became the Prime Minister of India. Okay, it was during this situation that the first government that was formed. Okay, that had also that had been only for 13 days. Clear, and that 13 days government had also been lost due to the same, due to no confidence of Lok Sabha in them. Okay, so we can see that this no confidence motion, okay, it is a formal proposal that has been introduced. Okay, and it has been matlab, almost we can say against many prime ministers that it has been introduced. Okay, now if I tell you about three major no confidence motion that have resulted in the fall of the government. Okay, first and foremost was in 1990 VP Singh government. Okay, not Morarji Desai government, it was VP Singh government. Okay, I just confused it with them. Okay, VP Singh government, it was in 1990 VP Singh government that had fallen with this. Okay, then it was in that it was HD Deve Gowda government. Okay, 1997 HD Deve Gowda government had also fallen. Okay, and as I have given you an example of Atalji in 1999. Okay, the first tenure of Atal Bihari Vajpayee had also fallen due to the same. Clear? Okay, so not Morarji Desai, but VP Singh, HD Deve Gowda, and Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Okay, now at the time of VP Singh government, okay, the motion had been defeated when BJP had withdrawn the support. Okay, and it was then that VP Singh government had fallen. In the HD Deve Gowda government, we had seen that HD Deve Gowda's government had continued for around 9-10 months. Okay, it had fallen then. Okay, moreover, when in 1999 Atal Bihari Vajpayee had lost. Okay, he had lost by just a single vote. Okay, so it was at this time AIA DMK had voted against. okay, party that belonged to Jayalalitha ji, okay, had voted against them, and it was then that it had fallen. Clear? So we have seen that three governments, there have been three instances when the governments have fallen. Okay, wins. Okay, मतलब is your doubt clear now? It has been three by voting that have fallen. Okay, now along with this, we have seen that no confidence motion has been initiated against in 1963. It had been initiated against Jawaharlal Nehru also. Okay, then we have seen no confidence motion coming up against Lal Bahadur Shastri also. Okay. After Lal Bahadur Shastri, we have seen the no confidence motion coming against most Indira Gandhi ji also in 1966, somewhere around 1966. Clear? So we have seen almost every minister. Recently, we have seen it came against Prime Minister Modi also in his previous term. Clear? So no confidence motion has been initiated against many prime ministers from 1963. We have seen it has been initiated against many. Clear? Chaliye. So now when we move ahead, okay, we see the next thing is the motion of thanks. Okay, now this motion of thanks is initiated majorly on the president's address. Okay, now president addresses the parliament on two occasions. Okay, first occasion is on the first sitting after the reconstitution of Lok Sabha. ठीक? And he shall also address parliament every year, first sitting every year. Now, in this first sitting every year, if we have to see, first session of parliament is the budget session. Now, in this first sitting every year or first sitting after the reconstitution, okay, in both of these addresses, the president outlines the policies, programs of the government, how government has promised, how they have delivered, what is their vision for the future. So all of these things are discussed. Okay. Now, this address, okay, whatever the president says in his or her address is is prepared by the ruling government itself. Okay. So at the end of the president's address, a discussion is taken up. Okay. And this motion of thanks is introduced. So this motion of thanks is basically a motion to thank the President of India, okay, upon his address. Clear? Now, after this address, a motion of thanks is introduced, and then this motion of thanks is put to vote. Now, this motion must be passed, okay, else it amounts to the defeat of the government. Clear? So, this amounts to the defeat of the government if it is not passed. Okay. Moreover, passing of this motion means that whatever the president has said in his address has been endorsed by the house. Okay, has been endorsed by the house. Moreover, the opposition uses this opportunity to criticize the government, okay, to highlight the failures of the government, okay, and to highlight the shortcomings, the shortfalls of the government. Clear? So this is how these motions are being used. Okay. Now another thing besides the motions is the resolutions. Okay, it is the resolutions. Clear? Now the resolutions are also introduced to draw the attention of the House upon a general matter of public interest. Clear? But there is a very essential difference in the resolution. Okay. Now a resolution is like a bill, is like a motion, but a resolution, if introduced, okay, cannot be withdrawn. Okay, so it is a proposal which once introduced, they cannot be withdrawn. Clear? So these resolutions, they are type of substantive motions. Okay, substantive motion. Clear? So it also introduces a topic of urgent public importance, but once introduced, it cannot be withdrawn. Clear? So you must understand this thing also. Okay. Now, next, when we move ahead, we talk about the legislative procedures of the House. Legislative procedures of the House. Okay. Now, what does these legislative procedures means? Okay. Now, this legislative procedures means that how laws are made in the Parliament. Clear? Now, first and foremost, you must remember that bills in the Parliament are of two types: public bills and private bills. Okay. So, if suppose we talk about the total member of Parliament, okay, which is 543 plus 245. Okay. Now these are 543 members of Lok Sabha. Okay. There are 245 members of Rajya Sabha. Clear? Out of these 543 members, suppose uh, 50 are ministers. Okay. Suppose 50 are ministers. Out of these 245 in Rajya Sabha, suppose 20 are ministers. Clear? Okay. So the remaining, okay, are private members. The remaining are private members. Clear? Now, bills which are introduced by these 50 in Lok Sabha or these 20 in Rajya Sabha will be categorized as public bills. Clear? Now, these public bills, they are basically the government bills. Okay? These are government bills or those bills that reflect the policy, vision of the government. Okay? And these private bills are those which reflect the vision of an individual member. Okay. So this is the basic difference between these bills. Okay. Wins again has a doubt. In all those three instances, government, when it falls to prove majority in confidence motion, sir, uh, क्या कह रहे हो, wins? In all those three instances, government, when it fails to prove majority, ha. Now, Vince, just remember one thing. When no confidence motion is introduced, okay, discussion had taken place, then voting has taken place. If the no confidence motion, okay, the proposal that proposed no confidence motion, if it gets passed, okay, then it means the government does not enjoy confidence, does not enjoy majority. Clear? And that amounts to defeat of the government, that amounts to the government falling. Okay. So the concept of confidence does not arise then. Clear? I hope it is understood. When they already have lost the no confidence motion without because of no majority, okay, then the government has already fallen. Okay, then there would not be another confidence proposal. Clear? Is it clear now? No confidence itself means that their majority has been checked. Understood? Clear? Chaliye. Now, first is broadly we classify bills into these two categories. Okay. Now, in the parliament, the bills are also introduced in four different forms. Clear? Now, first is the ordinary bill. as mentioned under Article 107 of the Constitution. Clear? The ordinary bill. Okay, I'll take up each and everything. I'll tell you what all are the constituents. Okay. Second are the money bills mentioned under Article 110. Okay. Third are the financial bills, Article 117. Okay. And fourth, the constitutional amendment bill. Okay, Article 368. Clear? So these are the four categories, okay, in which the bills can be proposed. Okay. Now, why I have mentioned the articles? Because the Constitution has laid down separate procedures for the enactment of these bills. Okay. Now, the procedures, their way of legislation, everything has been different. Clear? Now, first, we will talk about the ordinary bills. Okay. Now, what does this ordinary bills means? Okay. Now, ordinary bill, you can understand that these are the bills which are concerned with any matter except any financial matter. Okay. Now, these bills would not have any matter related to finances or expenses or money related. Okay, so I'll be discussing what all are the different types of funds also. Okay, but before telling them, ordinary bills, they do not have any such procedures. Clear? They do not have any concern around the money matters. Clear? So this ordinary bill, okay, these bills can be introduced in either house. Okay, it can be introduced in either house. Okay, now this ordinary bill can have any ordinary matter. Okay, it can have any ordinary concept. Okay, and these bill, it can be introduced either by a member minister or by any other ordinary member. Clear? Moreover, a member who has to introduce the bill has to ask for the leave of the house. Clear? So when the leave is granted, then only the bill can be introduced. Clear? Now, this bill is legislated in three processes, three stages. Okay. First stage is called the first reading. Now, in this stage of first reading, the bill is introduced. Okay, the bill is introduced, and in this stage, okay, there is no discussion taking place over the bill. Okay, the bill is just introduced, and the introducer shall highlight the title and the objectives of the bill. Clear? There will be no discussion what is inside the bill, what all are the nitty gritties of the bill will not be discussed. Clear? So in this, the bill is just introduced. Okay, and along with the introduction, okay, the bill is published in the Gazette. Okay, so just remember that this is the basic thing that is happening around the bill. Clear? Okay, so we can see that a bill is introduced and the bill is published in the Gazette. Okay, so first reading is only around this. When introduction happens, only the title and objective are discussed by the introducer. Okay, then the bill goes through the second stage, and it is called the second reading. Now, this second reading, in this stage of second reading, we have seen that firstly the bill was introduced, okay, and no discussion had taken place. In this stage, the bill goes through detailed discussion. Clear? Detailed discussion happens over the bill. Okay. So in this, we can see that the bill, okay, in the form of various parts, okay, the discussion happens. Clear? So this is the most important stage of the bill. Clear? Now in this bill, in this stage, the bill is discussed with keeping in mind all important parts. Clear? Now the bill is given to all the members. Okay, the discussion is taking place and properly the bill is being discussed. Clear? So the bill goes through each and every activity, each and every act happens. Clear? Now, in this stage, we can see that a general discussion is happening. Okay. In general discussion, if the house is satisfied with what has been happening, okay, the house can consider the provisions. Okay. But if need be, okay, the bill is after general discussion, the bill can be referred to the committee of the house. Clear? The bill can be referred to the select committee of the house. Okay. So select committees are specialized committee who will go through each and every detail. They will examine the bill thoroughly. Okay. And if need be, can also propose amendment. So the committee of the house shall also discuss things clause by clause. Okay. So they would discuss the things, but they would not change the concept of the bill. Clear? So all scrutiny, discussion, committee, that will again be done. Okay. Then after general discussion, committee stage, and then consideration of the bill. Okay. Now consideration of the bill is that in this stage, the house, okay, may have received the bill after general discussion or after the scrutiny of the committee. Okay. And now the bill is supposedly ready to be acknowledged clause by clause. Clear? So in this consideration stage, each clause is discussed and voted upon separately. Clear? So it is discussed and voted upon separately. Okay. And if need be, changes can also take place. Clear? So remember that in the stage of second reading, okay, detailed discussion, okay, modification, and clause by clause consideration, they happen. Clear? So this is the most important stage of the bill. Clear? Next, third stage is the stage of third reading. Okay. Now, in this stage of third reading, there are no discussions taking place, there are no modifications taking place. Okay. And this is mainly a stage of acceptance or stage of rejection. Clear? So, bill is accepted or rejected as whole. Clear? So, as a whole, the bill is considered and it is either accepted or rejected. Clear? So, we can see that this second reading is important and third reading is finally shaping the future of the bill. Clear? Okay. Now, if the bill is accepted, it is sent to the second house. If the bill is rejected, the bill is dead. Okay. So if bill is rejected, then it marks the end of the life of the bill. Okay. But if the bill is accepted, it then goes to the second house for further legislation. Clear? Okay. Please tell me, in case you have got doubt, Vince, your doubt is, sir, which process takes constitutional priority? Can the speaker freeze the no confidence vote until they finish disqualifying? Vince, why would they disqualify? Acha, usse you have another question earlier. Sir, if a no confidence motion is admitted against the government, but the ruling party files urgent 10th schedule disqualification petition against rebel MPs to protect its number. Okay. Now, why would they do so practically? Okay. If MPs have rebelled or if MPs have left the party, then it amounts to their disqualification. Okay. So it is always the disqualification that will be prioritized. Okay. Understood? So if MPs have changed the party and if they are disqualified under 10th schedule, they'll be considered. Understood? Okay. Acha, the remaining students, please do let me know in case you have got any doubt in this process of bills. Meanwhile, I'll take the doubt. Vince says, sir, does the admission of a no confidence motion legally strip the speaker of the right to alter the composition of the house until the trust vote is completed? No. Always remember one thing. Okay, Vince, in the case of parliamentary proceedings, okay, the decision of speaker shall be final. Okay, the decision of the speaker shall be final. Okay, if the no confidence motion has been admitted, okay, and its proceedings have been going on, then the no confidence proceedings are going on. Okay, if anything happens later, okay, always remember, if somebody has even left the party, okay, then also they are covered under the provisions or the whip directives. Understood? Okay, so it is the chronology of events that will be prioritized. What happens first? Clear? Chaliye. Okay, so this is how the process takes place. Okay, so in the case of ordinary bills, the bills is introduced in either house. Okay, so in this situation, first house can be, just taking an example, first house can be Lok Sabha, second house can be Rajya Sabha. Both the houses have got real powers, equal powers. So both the houses, they enjoy powers. Okay. Now, once the bill is accepted, it goes to the second house. Okay. In the second house, okay, the bill will, the bill again goes through three stages. Okay. In this, the bill again goes through three stages. Clear? First reading, second reading, third reading, as it had happened previously. Clear? So, as it had happened previously, the bill goes through the same. Okay. Then we can see what can be the outcome. If the second house can accept the bill, if it accepts the bill, it goes to the President of India for his assent. Okay. Now, the second house may reject the bill. If the first house has passed the bill, the second house has rejected the bill, then it is a situation of deadlock. Okay. It is a situation of deadlock. Now, second house may suggest modifications. Now, if the second house suggests modification, then there can be two instances. Okay. First house may accept modifications. if the first house has accepted the modifications, then the bill will go to the president. Okay, the bill will go to the president, and in this situation, the bill will be assumed to be passed with modifications. Okay. Now, in this, if the first house rejects modifications, then again it is a situation of a deadlock. Understood? Okay, this is again a situation of deadlock. Okay. Fourth, the second house does not take any action. Okay. If the second house does not take any action over the bill for 6 months, then again it is assumed to be a situation of deadlock. Okay. By deadlock, we mean that the bill cannot arrive upon a conclusion. The bill has neither been accepted nor it has been rejected. Clear? So this is what the deadlock means. Okay, I hope it is clear to everyone until how these activities have been taking place. Clear? Okay. Now, in order to resolve this deadlock, okay, in order to resolve this deadlock, the President of India shall have to convene the joint sitting of Parliament. Clear? So, in order to resolve this deadlock, joint sitting of Parliament is convened by the President of India under Article 108 of the Constitution. Clear? So this joint sitting of the Parliament, it is an extraordinary provision that is invoked to resolve the deadlock between the two houses over the passage of a bill. Clear? Now, in this joint sitting of Parliament, okay, we need to understand here that in this joint sitting of Parliament, uh, the Speaker of Lok Sabha shall preside over this session. Okay. Now, this is preside over the session. Okay. It is the Speaker of Lok Sabha that would preside over the session. If the Speaker is not available, then it is the Deputy Speaker. If Deputy Speaker is not available, then it is the Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha. Clear? Always remember, the Chairman of Rajya Sabha would not preside over the joint sitting of Parliament since he is not a member of either House of Parliament. Clear? So, this joint sitting of Parliament is notified by the President but presided over by the Speaker of Lok Sabha. Clear? Now, in this situation, we also need to understand one thing, that this joint sitting of Parliament is governed by the rules and procedures of Lok Sabha only. Clear? So, this joint sitting is governed by a process of Lok Sabha and not by Rajya Sabha. Okay. Moreover, the quorum is 10% of total strength. Okay. 10% of total strength of Lok Sabha as well as the Rajya Sabha. Okay. Moreover, now in this joint sitting of Parliament, okay, nothing new can be introduced. Means new amendments cannot be introduced. Clear? And no discussion or modification shall take place. Clear? Now, in this joint sitting, the concerned bill is only accepted or rejected as whole. Okay. No new amendments or modifications shall take place in the joint sitting of Parliament. Clear? Now, since 1950, the joint sitting has only been convened 3 times. Okay. First is 1950 Dowry Prohibition Bill, second Banking Service Commission Repeal Bill, and Prevention of Terrorism Bill 2002. Clear? So, joint sitting has been conducted only 3 times since 1950. Okay. Acha. Also, remember one thing. Then, in the joint sitting of Parliament, the bills are passed by the simple majority of total strength. Clear? The bills are passed by total majority, by simple majority of total strength. It means that in the joint sitting of Parliament, it is the will of the Lok Sabha that prevails over the will of Rajya Sabha, because the Lok Sabha, by virtue of their greater strength, can anytime get their decision, can get their will imposed upon the will. Okay, understood? So this is how the joint sitting also works. Clear? Anyone who has got any doubt in these? Okay, any doubt in this? Tell me. Any doubt? Please do let me know. Any doubt? चलिए. Now, this is how the ordinary bill is discussed. Okay. Then, after this ordinary bill, the next type of bill that comes up is the money bill. Okay. And this is given under Article 110 of the Constitution. 110 of the Constitution. Clear? Now, this money bill, the first question comes up is that what is a money bill? Okay. So, before understanding this money bill, okay, let me tell you what all are the different types of funds which are enjoyed. Okay. Funds in the Constitution of India. Clear? So, what all are the different types of funds which are enjoyed by the Constitution? Okay. Now, when we talk about the funds, we have got majorly 3 types of funds. Okay. The Consolidated Fund of India, okay, which is mentioned under Article 266, Section 1. Okay. Then comes the public accounts, okay, Section 2. Okay. And then comes the contingency fund given under Article 267. Clear? Now, the Consolidated Fund of India. Okay. Now, this consolidated fund, it majorly means a fund that has got all the money. Okay. Now, this fund basically talks about all the incomes of the government. Okay, all forms of incomes of the government. Now, if you have to understand that what all are the income of the government, okay, then we can understand one thing, that if we have to talk about the income, then government can earn money through different ways. Okay, government can earn money through different ways, through different means. Okay, now first, which is the Consolidated Fund of India. Okay, it, if we say, it basically talks about the exchequer. Okay, it is the main fund of the union government. Okay, so it is said that all receipts of the government, so whatever the government is receiving money, all the incoming money is credited to this fund, and all expenditure is debited from this fund. Clear? So this consolidated fund has got all revenue. Okay, all revenue that is received by the government. Okay, along with the revenue, the government can also make up money through loans. The government can also make up money through loans. Okay, the government can raise loans through T-bills. Okay, popularly called the treasury bills. Okay, also the means, ways and means for advances. Okay, now the government can also get some money through grants. Clear? So in this situation, we can see that whatever money government has been gaining, okay, this revenue means the government gaining money through tax. Clear? This is loans and this is grant given. Okay, grants are popularly given which are not supposedly to be repaid. Okay, suppose there was some catastrophe and the World Bank gave or anyone gave. Clear? So expenditures from the Consolidated Fund of India, okay, are basically through parliament. Okay, so every expenditure that has to be done is through parliamentary approvals. Clear? Now, when we have to talk about the public account of India, now this is the fund for the union government to which all the other public money, okay, to which all the other public money. Now again remember, this is also a government money. Clear? This is also the money of the government. Okay, but anything that is provided by the people voluntarily. Okay, now you will ask, sir, what is voluntary or what is something? You would have seen that if you are earning member of, or if you might have seen the pay slips of your parents or your relatives, then every month few deductions are made in the form of provident fund, PF. Okay, now you would have also noticed that people depositing their money in the savings bank account. Okay, you might be having the savings bank account wherein you might have been depositing money on your will, nobody is forcing you. Okay, then there are also some government departmental schemes that have been taking money. You are also, suppose you are making deposits in the post office. Clear? So all those money, okay, that you have been using, that you have been depositing, okay, any, if you are filing a court case, any legal fees, judicial deposit that you have been making, clear, that all goes to the public account. Okay, now public account, the government uses this fund for their regular expenditures. Clear? So this is basically, it includes the funds that the government holds on behalf of other entities. Okay, whether it is individuals, institutions, any other government. So money you have been giving to LIC. Clear? So these funds are different from the government revenue. Okay, and this money is not used for general expenditure. Clear? Now this public accounts money is basically used to make the fixed expenditures of the government. Like if the government has taken loan, government has to pay some interest. Okay, government might have undertaken some services, so government has to pay money for those services. Clear? So this is how the government is making use of this public account. Clear? Now this public account is not under the parliamentary approval, okay, and this is managed through executive actions. Clear? So this money is managed through executive actions. By executive actions, we can mean that it is in this money, the government essentially is not involving parliament. Clear? And it is the executives, through the executives, the payments are made. Okay. Third comes the contingency fund of India. Okay. Third comes the contingency fund of India. Okay. Now, by contingency fund of India, you essentially mean that a money that is kept for contingency. Okay. A money that is kept for unexpected situations. Clear? So this is the reserve money to take care of any unforeseen situation that comes before this. Clear? So in this contingency fund of India, this is basically also under the executive action. It is popularly the president's purse. Clear? So this contingency fund of India is operated by the executive action, and we can see, okay, that it is placed at the disposal of the President of India, and it is held by the Finance Secretary on behalf of the President of India. Clear? Now you can understand that this contingency fund, it in itself is a self-replenishing fund. Okay, so it is in itself a self-replenishing fund. Now, what does self-replenishing fund means? Okay, self-replenishing means that this contingency fund is given money from this consolidated fund. Okay, and at every moment of time, this has got rupees 30,000 crores. Clear? Okay. Previously, this fund had rupees 500 crores, but uh, by 21-22, this money was raised to 30,000 crores. Clear? So this contingency fund of India is just to meet unforeseen circumstances. Clear? And suppose the government required 10,000 crore rupees, then the money is sent from consolidated fund, and this amount will always remain 30,000. Okay. So always remember that even though this money is given, okay, but later on the parliament will consider this. Okay, what all expenses were done, how this money was given, what was the requirement, that all will be checked. Okay, but it is basically a way when the government has to meet some unforeseen expenditure, the government does not have time to get the parliamentary approval. So in that situation, the government can request the President of India to disburse some amount. So this is how the contingency fund works. Clear? So these are the three different forms of fund. Okay, and in this, just remember, it is the consolidated fund that requires the parliamentary approval. Clear? Now moving on to the next. After this, okay, the money bill, Article 110 of the Constitution. Clear? Now, in this money bill, you can remember that in this money bill, as the definition say, okay, it is a bill that contains money provisions. Okay, the bill that talks about imposition, okay, abolition, remission, alteration, or regulation of any tax. Clear? So, if any tax has to be imposed, if any tax has to be abolished, if it has to be ended, okay, if the tax has to be reduced, if it has to be altered, or if it has to be regulated. Clear? Then money bill can be introduced. Clear? Next, the money bill is also introduced for the custody of the consolidated fund or contingency fund or payment of money or withdrawal of money from any such fund. Clear? So if money has to be money is being appropriated through any of these, then contingency fund is this money bill is required. Clear? Then any sort of money being coming out of the consolidated fund of India, okay, or any declaration on any expenditure charged on the consolidated fund. Charged on the consolidated fund means that any money that is charged without a discussion, that is charged expenditure. Clear? Or any sort of receiving of money on the consolidated fund of India or public accounts of India or custody or audit, any such thing shall be introduced in this. Clear? So we can see that any form of appropriation is taking place, but there are three exceptions to the money bill. Okay. Now exceptions to the money bill is exceptions to the money bill. If we talk about now in the exceptions, there are three different things. Okay. First is imposition of fines or penalties. If any fine or penalty has been imposed, okay, then the government need not come out with a money bill to pay those fines and penalties. Clear? Second, if the government has to pay some fees for any service or any license taken, then the government does not has no need to take this. Clear? And third, if there is any abolition regulation of any tax by a local authority for a local purpose, then also the government would not require to come up with a uh, money bill. Clear? So this is how these are the three exceptions to the money bill. Clear? Now always remember that it is the Speaker of Lok Sabha who shall decide whether a bill is a money bill or not. Clear? And the decision of the speaker shall be final and binding. Clear? Now, in this situation, a money bill is essentially introduced in the Lok Sabha only. Okay. So we can see that this money bill, it is introduced in Lok Sabha with the prior recommendation of the President of India. Clear? So this bill is first speaker will decide, then it will be introduced only in Lok Sabha and upon the recommendation of the President of India. Clear? Now also remember that passing of this money bill also has a special process. Okay, this can be introduced in Lok Sabha as I've told you with the recommendation of the President. Okay, moreover, it can only be in the form of a public bill. Okay, and only a minister can introduce this bill. Clear? Once this bill is introduced in Lok Sabha, okay, this bill can also be accepted or this bill can also be rejected. Okay. Always remember that in case this bill gets rejected, then also it means defeat of government. Okay. It translates to defeat of the government. Okay. Second point, if it is accepted, if it is passed, then this bill goes to the Rajya Sabha. Okay. Now this Rajya Sabha does not have greater powers around this bill. Clear? Now Rajya Sabha can only discuss the provisions of this bill. Clear? So after a bill is passed by Lok Sabha, it goes to the Rajya Sabha for its consideration. Now Rajya Sabha does not have power. Rajya Sabha can neither reject this bill nor it can change this bill. Okay. Now Rajya Sabha can make some recommendations which are again optional upon Lok Sabha to accept. Okay. And Rajya Sabha has to return the bill with or without any recommendations back to the Lok Sabha within 14 days. Clear? So this Rajya Sabha has to send the bill to the Lok Sabha in 14 days. Okay, in 14 days it has to be done. And once the bill goes to the Lok Sabha can either accept the recommendations that have been given by Rajya Sabha, or it can totally reject them. Clear? Now, if Lok Sabha accepts those recommendations, then the bill is deemed to have been accepted in the modified form. Okay, and Lok Sabha, if need be, can reject the recommendations of the Rajya Sabha. That will not have any bearing upon this bill. Clear? So once it reaches back to the Lok Sabha within 14 days, okay, the bill is then sent to the President of India. Okay. Also remember, if the Rajya Sabha does not return the bill back to the Lok Sabha within 14 days, okay, then after the end of 14 days, the bill is assumed to have been passed in the original form by the Rajya Sabha. Clear? So we can understand that in the form of, in the case of money bill, Lok Sabha enjoys higher powers. Lok Sabha enjoys greater powers. Clear? So in this situation, we can see the bill then goes to the President of India, and the President of India also has got limited power. Clear? The President of India can pass this bill. The President of India can withhold his assent to the bill, but President of India cannot return the bill for reconsideration. Clear? Now, usually the President of India passes this bill. Why? Because this bill in the first instance was introduced upon the recommendation of the President only. Clear? And this is the reason why President of India usually passes this bill. Clear? So we can see that in the case of money bill, the Lok Sabha enjoys a high status. Clear? It enjoys a high status. Okay. Next, if we talk about the financial bills, now they have been mentioned under Article 117 of the Constitution. Clear? Now, under Article 117 of the Constitution, the financial bills have been categorized into two categories. Okay. First is the category which says financial bill type 1, and it is the category that says financial bill type 2. Okay. Now, when we talk about the financial bill type 1, 17 section 1. Okay. Now, in this category of financial bill type 1, basically, okay, the bills, okay, you need to understand one thing, that these financial bills are a combination of money bill as well as an ordinary bill. Clear? So, in this financial bill, we can understand that this bill, okay, it contains not only matters of Article 110, but also matters of general legislation. Clear? So, this is containing matters of ordinary bill plus also money bill. Clear? Ordinary bill plus money bill. Okay. So, we can see that a bill that can also have borrowing clause, okay, but not only dealing with borrowing. So, it can have multiple things, money matter, ordinary matters as well. Clear? So, we can understand that these bills, okay, can be introduced only in Lok Sabha. ये bill बस these bills can be introduced only in Lok Sabha and cannot be introduced in Rajya Sabha. Okay. Moreover, we can understand that these bills can be introduced only with the recommendation of the President of India. Clear? Clear? So you need to understand one thing, that with this financial bill type 1, okay, its process of introduction is same as money bill. Okay, but process of legislation is same as an ordinary bill. Clear? So this bill can be rejected or amended by Rajya Sabha. Clear? So you need to understand that in order to the passage of this bill is same as ordinary bill. Clear? Now, when we talk about the next type of bill, that is financial bill type 2. Okay. Now, this financial bill type 2, it contains provisions that involve expenditure from consolidated fund, but no topic that is given under Article 110. Clear? Now, this is expenditure from consolidated fund minus topics which are given under Article 110 of the Constitution. Clear? Now, this bill, its introduction and legislation are same as ordinary bill. Clear? So its introduction as well as legislation are same as ordinary bill. Okay, but it only has one special feature. Okay, that this bill is cannot be passed unless the president has allowed its consideration. Clear? So clear? So this is how these financial bills work. Okay, just remember these financial bills, the process of legislation is same as ordinary bill. Okay, so this bill shall be passed as an ordinary bill only. Clear? Okay, clear? Okay, so I hope this is clear. You do not have any doubt. Okay. Moreover, also remember that when we talk about the joint sitting of the parliament, the joint sitting, also remember this joint sitting can be convened only for ordinary bill and financial bills. Clear? So this can only be for an ordinary bill or financial bill. The joint sitting cannot be conducted either for a money bill or a constitutional amendment bill. Understood? So you can see that in the case of financial bills also, over disagreement, joint sitting of the parliament can be conducted. Clear? I hope this is this doubt is clear. Okay, chali. Now moving ahead on to our last and the most prominent topic. Okay, of this is budget. The real term, okay, or is the annual financial statement, popularly called the budget, okay, given under Article 112 of the Constitution. Clear? So this is given under Article 112 because in our Constitution the term budget has been mentioned nowhere in the Constitution. Clear? So what is budget or what is this annual financial statement? This is basically relating to financial year. Okay. Now currently the financial year that is going on is 2026-27. Clear? It started from 1st April 2026 and it will continue until 31st March 2027. Okay. Now, when budget for this financial year was introduced, okay, this budget does not only contain the estimate expenditure, okay, the budget has the estimates of income plus expenditure of this financial year, okay. Along with it, the budget will also contain a balance sheet of the previous financial year. Clear? So, the budget, it contains estimates and receipts of this, okay, estimates of revenue and capital receipts, okay, what all are the ways to raise revenue, how much is the expected expenditure of this region, okay, and also they will have the details of actual receipts and expenditure of the previous final year. Clear? So estimates of this plus actual receipts plus expenditure of previous financial year. So if previous financial year, it has to be 2025 26. Okay, if just taking an example of this. Clear? Now previously what had happened is, until 2017, okay, until 2017 the government had two budgets, okay, one budget was railway budget and other was the general budget, okay. Now this railway budget, it essentially had 32 demands, okay, and general budget had 109 demands. Out of these 109 demands, 103 were civil demands and 6 were defense demands. Clear? Now, what do you mean by demands? Now, suppose in the starting of the month, your parents ask you that how much money do you require? And you tell them that Papa, I require 5,000 rupees for this month. Now he'll ask you for what? You will tell him that 1,000 will be my coaching fees. Okay. 500 rupees will be my phone and internet bill. Okay. 1,000 rupees will be, I need to buy some books. Okay. Some 2,000 rupees for you have to buy some course, and 500 rupees for some miscellaneous expenses. Clear? So you highlighted them 5-6 different demands, 5-6 different heads under which you have to spend the money. Clear? So this is how this budget also works. Clear? Now these are the different demands which are raised through this. Okay. Now since railway in itself is a very large department, okay, so the government used to come up with a separate railway budget, okay, and a separate general budget. Clear? Now this was basically to ease their working, okay, but now the government has in 2017 they have merged the budget into one single budget, okay, and we call it a union budget. Now this budget, after this, the union budget that comes up is total 32 railway demands and 109 general budget demands. So total 141 demands are clubbed into a single budget. Okay. Now you can see that this railway budget was previously introduced on the last working day of third week of February. Okay, and general budget was introduced on the last working day of February. Clear? So this was how the budgetary provisions had been taking place. Clear? So this was how the budgets were being introduced, and this was how the positioning of the budget was carried out. Clear? Now you must remember that this annual financial statement or a budget, okay, it is also it also works at par with the money bill. Okay, so it is no demand for grant. Okay, we call them the demand for grants. Okay, now this no demand for grant shall be introduced, okay, without the consent of the President of India. Clear? Moreover, no money shall be withdrawn from the consolidated fund of India under the appropriation of law. Okay, next, you must understand that no money that is imposing tax shall be introduced in parliament without the recommendation of president. Okay, and like the money bill, this bill can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha and not in Rajya Sabha. Clear? Always remember, when a budget is introduced, the parliament can either reduce a tax or it can abolish a tax. Okay, it cannot increase a tax. Clear? Moreover, the constitution has also defined the legislative process of this. Clear? So there has been the enactment process, legislation process, and everything has been done, and you can understand that this budget also works like a money bill. Clear? Okay. So the legislative process is the same as that of budget. Now, in this budget, there is one important provision called charged expenditure. Now, under the charged expenditure, a budget majorly consists of two types of expenditure. Okay, one expenditure that can be discussed and modified. Okay, and the other type of expenditure that cannot be discussed and not can be modified. Clear? So this charged expenditure is that non-votable part of the budget. Okay, it is the non-votable part that can only be discussed but cannot be changed. Okay, now why this charged expenditure has been introduced? Now, because this charged expenditure, it contains the salaries and allowances of President of India, okay, salaries and allowances of Chairman, Deputy Chairman Rajya Sabha, Speaker, Deputy Speaker Lok Sabha, okay, judges of Supreme Court, okay, pensions of judges of high courts. Clear? Salaries and allowances of CAG, UPSC, expenses of the Supreme Court, okay, the debt interest that is charged upon the government of India, okay, any expenditure parliament that has introduced in this charge expenditure that has been added. Okay, previously you know that money that is allocated for the security services, okay, we have seen the money that is allocated to research and analysis wing. Clear? So all that money goes to the charge expenditure so that you can discuss, okay, but you cannot change it. Now what is the rationale behind adding things to this? Okay, if I just give you an example, the salaries and allowances of the judges of Supreme Court have been added into this so that the executives cannot influence them. Suppose the salaries of judges and judges of Supreme Court was independent of parliamentary functions, then the executives, then the government would have influenced them. Government would have said that if you do not act in our favor, we will reduce your salary to 10,000 rupees a month. Okay, then this is how the judiciary cannot work independently. Clear? And thus they all have been kept under the charge expenditure. Clear? So this is how the in general the concept of charge expenditure works. Okay. Now, how is this budget processed? How does this budget work? Clear? Now I'll take two examples. Okay. First example I'll take about a time period which was prior to this. Okay, and also the recent, because in 2017 this was how the budgets were introduced. Okay, post 2017 the government has said that now budget shall be introduced on 1st of February. Okay, now the budget shall be introduced on 1st of February. So it is on 1st of February that it has to be done. Clear? Now you can understand that budget basically, okay, is initiated by the finance minister. Okay, so what is the process? I'll tell you how. So let us take an example of budget of 2010 and 2011. So we are talking about financial year 2010-2011. Clear? Now in this the budget was the presentation of budget shall now be taking place. Clear? Now in 2010-2011 the budget was introduced on the third week of last working day of February. Okay, so first I'll just tell you and then I'll tell you the timeline. Now first is the presentation of the budget. Now in the presentation of the budget, the finance minister introduces the budget with his speech in Lok Sabha. Okay. Now, in this budget presentation, he just covers the basics of the budget, the title, the objectives, what are the major highs of the budget, what the government has tried to achieve. Clear? All of these things are covered in it. He gives a budgetary speech, and when his speech ends in Lok Sabha, at the same time, the budget is laid in Rajya Sabha. Clear? So budget is basically introduced in these two parts, first in Lok Sabha followed by Rajya Sabha. Clear? Now after the presentation of the budget, okay, the next stage is general budget discussion. Clear? General budgetary discussion. Okay, so this general discussion, it begins few days after the presentation. Okay, and it parallelly goes in both the houses, and it is usually for 3 to 4 days. Clear? Now during this stage the Lok Sabha discusses the budget as a whole or just general questions around the budget. Clear? At this time, no priority checks, no cut motions, anything can be introduced in this. Clear? Next is the stage of uh, scrutiny by standing committees. Clear? So it is the scrutiny by standing committees of the parliament. Clear? So in total, there are 24 departmental committees of the parliament. Okay. So then it is the departmental committees that go through the budget. Okay. Now after going through the discussion, okay, the standing committees, they would see that is there any major changes, major things that have to be noticed, examined. So very minute scrutiny happens through this. Okay. Then it is the voting on demand for grant. Clear? It is the voting on demand for grant. Okay, so whatever the reports of departmental standing committees come, the Lok Sabha shall take up the voting upon the demand for grant, and the demands are then ministry wise presented. Clear? So this demand is basically becomes a grant when it has been actually voted upon by the house. Clear? So we have to see that the voting of the demand is the power of Lok Sabha. Okay, Rajya Sabha cannot vote, Rajya Sabha cannot make changes. Clear? Moreover, the voting is only confined to the votable part. They cannot vote over charged expenditure. Clear? Now, the next stage that comes up is the next stage wherein acknowledgement of the budget is being done. Clear? That is passing of appropriation bill. Okay, passing of appropriation bill. Okay, so appropriation bill means once this appropriation bill is passed, it means that the parliament has allowed the appropriation of money from the consolidated fund of India to happen. Clear? Means this appropriation bill, it reflects the expenditure side of the budget. Okay, so it says that now expenditure can be made in the from the budgetary provisions. Clear? Next comes is passing of finance bill. Okay. Now this finance bill is passed, it means it authorizes the income side of the budget. Okay. And once this finance bill is passed, it allows, it means that the House has passed how the income shall happen through this estimates of budget. Now, I'll just take up the timeline. Okay. Now, presentation of budget in 2010-11, it took place on the last working day of Feb. Okay, means anywhere around 27, 28 of February. Clear? Then this general budget discussion had started. Okay, this general budget discussion had started, and in general budget discussion, it usually takes place for 3 to 4 days. Clear? So it is around 3 to 4 days that this usually happens. Clear? So we can see that it begins a few days after its presentation. Okay, it takes place in the both houses, and 3 to 4 days happen. Clear? So general budget discussion somewhere around first week of March. Okay. Now, after this general budget discussion, the House goes on a leave. Clear? Now, after this general discussion is done, the House is adjourned. Okay. House is adjourned, or we can say House on leave for around 3 to 4 weeks. In these 3 to 4 weeks, the standing committees, they shall scrutiny. Clear? So then the House reassembles. Okay, and it is then that the voting on the demand for grant shall start. Clear? So when the reports are come up, okay, and everything is considered, then we can see that the voting upon this is carried out. Okay, each demand for granted voted upon separately. Clear? And we can see that detailed scrutiny is carried out during this time. Okay, so we need to understand one thing, that this entire process, okay, this voting upon the demand for grant and every such thing, okay, it further takes place in 26 days. Clear? So it further takes place in 26 days over. Okay, and then passing of appropriation bill, it usually happens. Okay, when the bill means that the income side has been completed. So the House reassembles after 4 weeks. It reassembles by the first week of April. Okay, then this voting and everything is taking place. Okay, so it happens within 26 days. So overall, it has to be completed within 75 days. Okay, now 26 days more happen, and we can see that it is by this time it is last week of April. Okay, and by the time the finance bill is passed, it comes first week of May. Now the question comes up is that the financial year had started from 1st of April, okay, but the money came to them by first week of May. Clear? So for this entire duration, how will the government be able to run? Clear? How will the government be able to meet their expenses? Clear? So this is a bigger question that comes before the government. Clear? And for this expense, for the routinal expenses that the government has to take up, okay, by the time this money is passed, it is called vote on account. Okay. Now, under vote on account, the government is authorized to allocate the amount to run its routinal expenses in the previous financial year itself. Okay. So for this 1 month of duration, how the country will run, okay, the money would have been allocated in the previous financial year itself, that is in 2009-2010. Clear? So this is the vote on account. Okay. Now we will take up an example of current times. Okay. Suppose we are talking about the budget of 2024-25. Okay. Now the budget was introduced. Now the government after 2017 has changed the date from first, let us take it to be 2017 itself. 2017-2018. Okay. Now the government has changed that the budget introductory date is now 1st of February. Now the budget is introduced on 1st of February. Okay. Within 3-4 days, the general budget discussion happens. Okay. The House goes on a leave, and by the time the House reassembles, it is first week of March. Okay. First week of March, within 26 days, the voting on demand for grant happens, and it is by the last week of March, the appropriation bill is passed. Okay, so appropriation bill is passed, the money is now available to be spent. Okay, and the financial year starts from 1st of April. Clear? So by the government preponing this date of introduction, okay, after 2017-18, okay, the vote on account is no more relevant. Clear? So this vote on account is no more relevant since 2017-18 because the government has preponed this essentials of the introduction of the budget. Clear? I hope this is clear to you. Okay. So this is how the budget is processed, legislated upon in the parliament, and this is how the budget is legislated like a money bill. Okay, so just remember that budget is discussed, voted upon, okay, and it happens only in Lok Sabha. Once it is passed, it is sent to the Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha has to return it back to the Lok Sabha within 14 days. Okay, and then it is sent to the President of India for his assent. Clear? Now, during the voting on demand for grant, okay, now previously we had seen there were various motions. Okay, in the ordinary bill, in general bill, we had various motions. Now here also the opposition has got various checks and balances. Okay, now these checks and balances, they come in the form of cut motions. Okay, now these cut motions, they are also introduced in multiple forms, in various forms. Okay, now these cut motions, now we have seen that each demand in this Lok Sabha is voted upon separately. Now during this stage, the members of parliament, mainly the opposition, okay, they can also move the motions to reduce the demand for grant, and such are called the cut motions. Okay. Now in the cut motion, it is first cut motion that comes up is the policy cut motion. Okay. Now in the policy cut motion, what is the vision behind this? Clear? In this policy cut motion, the individual who has introduced it states that the amount of demand for grant shall be reduced to rupee 1. Okay. Now, whatever amount has been granted means 100 crores have been allocated. The individual who has been introducing this policy cut motions now says that this entire hundreds of crores must be reduced to rupee 1. It means that what this individual is trying to convey is that we reject your policy. Okay, we are rejecting your policy, we are disapproving of your policy. Clear? So this policy cut motion, acha, always remember, every cut motion shall be discussed and voted upon, and if passed, then only its intent will be implemented. Okay. Next comes essentially, okay, we can call it the most constructive cut motion, that is the economy cut motion. Now, in this economy cut motion, okay, the proposer is trying to convey that the amount shall be reduced by a specified amount. Means that the amount of demand for grant shall be reduced by rupees X. Okay. So they are trying to say that you have over allocated money into this. So please reduce the amount. Okay. Supposedly, for some scheme, the government has allocated 500 crores. Okay. The proposer herein is saying that please reduce the allocation to 300 crores. Means 500 crores minus 200 crores, reduce it to 300 crores, and we feel that is sufficient to resolve this. Okay. Third, so it is suggesting economy to this. Okay. Next is token cut motion. Okay. The amount for demand for grant shall be reduced by rupees 100. Okay. Now, in this, you need to understand that the proposer is not worried about any other thing related to the policy. Okay. Now, the proposer is trying to convey that the government should suppose has allocated 100 crores, 200 crores. The proposer is saying that we do not have problem with your policy, but we have got various other grievances, and we want the government to acknowledge our grievances first. Okay. By reducing 100 rupees, okay, there would be no effect over the policy. So the individual says that we do not have problem with your policy, but we would want you to acknowledge our other grievances. Okay. We would want that other things, other demands that we have been raising regarding the governance in the country, that should also be acknowledged. Clear? So this is what the token cut it mentions. Clear? So you need to understand that all of these cut motions have specific principles. Okay, the economic cut motions is essentially the most constructive out of all of these. Clear? Okay, chaliye. So tell me, anyone who has got any doubt of in this topic? Okay, so almost close to 4 hours we have been discussing this topic of parliament, and I have, even though this topic has not been entirely completed, but 90% of the provisions that contribute to this topic of parliament have already been covered by me in this session. Okay, anyone who has got any doubt in these, please do let me know. Okay, if you have got any doubt, please do let me know, because this topic is the backbone of Indian polity. Okay, moreover, the study IQ courses have also been going on. Okay, and as there has been this tracker moving, you just need to use this code SRM live to avail maximum discount on all study IQ IAS courses. Okay, chaliye. So this is all from my side today. I hope all of you would have understood this, enjoyed it. Okay. So it has been a long session. If you need, you can just go through the session again on 2x speed, and you can just revise, because majority of the provisions have been summarized, have been covered into this. Okay. And I have covered this topic with utmost uh, simplicity. Okay. So that all of you shall understand things. Clear? Chaliye. So this is all from my side today. I hope all of you would have understood things. We'll see you all in the next session. In case you have got any doubt, please feel free to comment down below. Okay. So this was